Hey, John, John Cifarelli, I didn't have to punch in any code or anything. Good job by whoever's doing that. I just had to click the link and it worked.
That was
Okay,
me.
you're all set. Thank you so much. Whenever you're ready.
We're all set? Okay. Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Orange Board of Finance. Today's Monday, February 22nd. We'll call the meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. In accordance with Governor Lamont's Executive Order 7B regarding the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting will be held remotely with no in-person attendance. Meeting will be broadcast live on OGAT Channel 79 and Frontier Channel 6063, streamed live on YouTube and OGAT. I'll start by introducing everyone. Pat Romano, John Cifarelli, PJ Shanley, Kevin Moffitt, Jim Leahy, Deb Satonic, and Chief Gagne is with us, and Chief Martins is with us. So item 3 is public dialogue. We do have a letter that I'm going to hold off till we get to that part of our agenda, which is Amity, so we can get right to the presentation of the Orange Police Services. Chiefs, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Kevin. When you're ready, I'll just start in.
We're ready.
Okay. So good evening, everybody. I appreciate that you're doing this on Zoom and doing your part to keep everybody safe. Our budget is ready to be presented. I want to thank Assistant Chief Martins for his involvement in preparing this budget, as well as our administrative assistant, Kathy Gulia. Lieutenant Chris Chiarelli, thank you to him for assisting with the IT sections of the budget. And also we had several lieutenants and sergeants weigh in with their areas of expertise in the preparation of this budget. And also a thank you to our Board of Police Commissioners for their support of the budget that we're presenting tonight. So as you know, our budget is broken down into 4 different sections, consisting of general services, uniform patrol, investigative services, and communications and dispatch. We've tried to keep the budget from unnecessary increases, but there are increases that are necessary. And we also had some decreases where appropriate. But I'm just going to give you the highlights right now of what those increases are and explain quickly why they're needed. Starting in with drug and psychological screening. We had to increase that account by quite a bit, $9,700. And a major part of that was due to the police accountability bill that was passed in July. And basically, this extra funding is for post-employment psychological exams. We psychologically screen all of our police officers before hiring them. Now, as part of the bill, each officer has to have a psychological screening no less than every 5 years. So what we're going to try and do is do 20% of the department a year over the course of 5 years to get everybody done. Also, as part of that bill, the officers have to pass a drug screen prior to their post-certification being renewed. And that comes up every 3 years. So in essence, a third of the department would need to be done each year. And it's not a normal drug screen as part of the bill. It has to encompass steroids. So that brought it from the level of a $50 drug screen to more in line of a $200 drug screen. So that's why the increase to that line, to be able to comply with that bill. Computer maintenance was increased by $5,000. We've become more and more IT dependent, and in this upcoming budget year, we're going to need a new server. So actually, that's on the low side, that $5,000. There's other things that we could use in that account, but I know this is going to be another lean year. So we kept it down to the bare minimum, which would be a $5,000 increase. Radio repairs was increased $6,000. This is a year for new portable radio batteries for our officers in the field. UPS batteries, our UPS system, which is basically the battery backup for our critical systems, which is the Emergency Operations Center and the communications room, to make sure that we don't go down in a power outage and our systems are maintained during that period of time between losing power and the generator kicking on. So the UPS batteries are due this year at $2,710. Travel and training was increased $5,000. Our job has grown more and more complex, and the need for different areas of training continues to increase. Part of that is the police accountability bill. Some of the trainings that are going to be required as a result of that bill. Other parts of it are due to changes in the state mandates for the emergency medical technician curriculum. And part of it is that we're not able to hold our trainings in person right now. We are doing virtual training through a couple of different resources, but we have to pay for that. So during the course of the past year, we have been providing good training for our officers, but it's virtual training and there's an added expense there. Building maintenance, we increased that $3,000 to reflect what we're actually spending in that account. Part of that is our aging roof. Our roof is 47 years old, and it has required ongoing maintenance to keep us leak-free. And at some point in the very near future, that roof needs to be replaced, and I know that you're already aware of that. Machinery and equipment. This account wasn't funded last budget. So
Sorry, PJ Shanley, I just wanted to interject for one quick second. First, thank you for everything that you do and the terrific officers that we have here in Orange. And Chief Martin, thank you for joining us as well. Do we have a quote on what a new roof would cost?
the quote we have right now is $325,000.
That's half of an Amity, half of Amity's parking lot.
Right.
That's the number.
Okay. No, I just wanted, to get price.
Okay. Continuing on, the machinery and equipment line was not funded for this current year. And so that's why the increase is $25,000. We really need this to get funded. And basically what we're going to be asking for is a system to replace our aging, antiquated system for recording interviews and interrogations in our investigative services unit. It is the law here in Connecticut that certain classifications of crimes, once they turn into an investigation, that's an interrogation that's taking place here at the police department, those have to be recorded. And the system that we have in place is about 10 years old, which is commensurate with the time of when this law was first enacted. That system is aging, it's no longer supported. And if it crashes, we're going to have to get a replacement system pretty quickly. So this is something that we need to have in place to be in compliance with the law. We actually got a quote from a different vendor than the vendor we currently use. So we were able to find a system that is a little bit less money than what the current system updated would be. So again, the recording of these interviews and interrogations, that's also in keeping with the police accountability bill. But this law is over 10 years old, so we don't have an option here. We have to get this funded. And that's why I put it in my operating budget versus trying to get it through short-term capital planning, because this is not something we could leave to chance. We have to have it. Moving on, vehicles, we asked for 2 vehicles this year. That's going to be 2 marked vehicles. And along with that is the installation of emergency equipment, prisoner sequestering in the vehicle, emergency lights, all those types of things are part of that vehicle account. Some of those materials have to change because all of the manufacturers, Ford, Dodge, they're changing their vehicle models and they're changing them significantly. So a cage assembly to sequester a prisoner might not be able to be used from year to year, depending on model changes. Also funded in that particular line is the cameras, the dash cameras that we use in each patrol vehicle. Now, we've had those for years. When we replace a vehicle, we replace a camera. The time period is a very good match in that regard. And again, we've had body cameras, we've had dash cameras for a long time now, but now those items are no longer something that is an option. It's mandatory per the police accountability bill. So we have to continue along that regard. Police uniform patrol. I did not ask for extra officers this year because I know what we're dealing with fiscally, and I tried to keep this budget down to the bare minimum, but we are going to need more officers as the town continues to grow. I did not ask for it in this current budget year. So that item has gone up because the police contract was finally settled. Now, keep in mind that this line is in that line is 3 years worth of raises because the contract wasn't settled. So the new amount reflects raises that the officers got for 2019, 2020, and it reflects the raise that they will get in 2021. AED batteries, those are our defibrillators that we keep in the patrol cars. That was increased by $4,500 because the batteries are due for replacement this year. That's critical life-saving equipment. So those are the highlights of the increases that we're asking for. If you read my narrative, I point out that our overall budget reflected a 4.84% increase. Most of that is contractual items that we're obligated to. Part of it is new items that need to be funded as a result of the police accountability bill. And again, there's 3 years worth of raises for the police officers in there. When you take out all of those contractual items, you come to the amount of $127,424, which is only a 2.4% increase. The bulk of that is attributed to the vehicles. And we did not fund that in the operating budget last year. So that amount is a full increase when you take the amount required for those 2 vehicles. Taking the vehicles out of the equation and what we're asking for in our budget that we need, we're down to only a 0.44% increase. So I think we did a very good job in keeping this budget down to the bare minimum of what we actually need and what we really need. One of the things I touched upon in my narrative that we're also not asking for this year, but it has to happen sometime soon, is we got to consider another IT position for the town. Our IT department does a great job. Paul and Josh, they do a fantastic job. And now they have a part-time person in there with very, very limited hours. But we have grown more and more IT dependent here at the police department. We have a lieutenant that is doing it, assisted by a sergeant, and they liaison with our IT department. But that takes them away from critical duties that they're supposed to be doing. So again, while we're not asking for it right now, that is a critical thing that we're going to need to think about and fund in the near future here. So that is a summary of the increases. If you'll indulge me here for just a couple of minutes, and then I'll answer your questions. Just a couple of things I want to make you aware of. We run a good police department here, and I know that you know that, and I'm very, very appreciative of the support that you've always shown to our department. You've funded what we've needed to fund, and that is greatly appreciated. Since our meeting last year at this time, the world has changed quite a bit. Quite a lot has gone on. Something I want to point out in all this talk of police accountability, something that I think is getting lost in the discussions is the fact of what came out of the president's task force on 21st century policing, which their final report was published back in May of 2015. In that report, they came up with 6 pillars for policing that they felt were very, very important. Now, that task force consisted of some of the best criminal justice minds in the country, and it was a very diverse task force. There was 11 people, and they had several listening sessions, and experts in criminal justice that were also from very diverse backgrounds were able to give testimony as to what was needed for policing going forward. And just to put this in context, this was in President Obama's administration, and this was post-Ferguson and the problems that occurred in Ferguson. So those 6 pillars, I'm just going to identify them quickly, and I could send you more information on this for anybody who's interested. But those 6 pillars were: 1, building trust and legitimacy; 2, policy and oversight; 3, technology and social media; 4, community policing and crime reduction; 5, training and education; and 6, officer wellness and safety. Now, prior to this report, we were always very active in those different areas before they were identified as pillars. And so we were always paying attention to those things. After this study was done and the report was issued, we gave it great attention, as have most police departments in the nation, working towards making those 6 pillars more robust. And that's kind of gotten lost in all of these discussions. So also, I'm just going to read you quickly from that report. The philosophical foundation for the task force on 21st century policing was to build trust between citizens and their peace officers so that all components of a community are treating one another fairly and justly and are invested in maintaining public safety in an atmosphere of mutual respect. That phrase right there, an atmosphere of mutual respect, that's pretty verbatim from our mission statement here at the Orange Police Department, which was written several years ago, long before this report in 2015. So we've worked hard at these different things. And our department has put in place things over the years that are very, very important and that are in compliance with these 6 pillars and are in the spirit of these 6 pillars. Our officers are all college educated. They are all certified as emergency medical responders or emergency medical technicians. We are the legal medical first responder here for the town. Crisis intervention training, that is part of the training and education pillar that this task force identified. Our officers are being sent strategically to crisis intervention training. As of this date, over 50% of the department is trained in crisis intervention at this point in time. Our officers are all trained in procedural justice, implicit bias, fair and impartial policing. All of these things that got identified through this task force, we've been training to, and we've gotten very good at it. Very shortly after we met last year, our department got accredited by the state of Connecticut for the first time in its history. So that ties in with policy and oversight. So we have Tier 1 accreditation by the state. We're working towards Tier 2 as we speak, with the intention of going right into Tier 3. So having said that, maintaining a progressive and community-focused police department doesn't happen by accident. It takes a lot of hard work, and it also takes funding. And I again, thank you for your support in the past for all of this, because we wouldn't be able to accomplish the things that we've accomplished without the proper funding. And each one of those items that I presented to you tonight in my summary of our increases can somehow be tied to each one of those 6 pillars. And so they are critical items to maintain and to work on, so that we're not resting on our laurels here in Orange. So that is what I have to present, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
I'll open it up to anybody who has any questions for the chiefs.
Well, Chief, I have a comment while everybody's kind of formulating their questions. First of all, thank you, and for all your team, the officers, as you call them, but you know, I'm a team guy, right? So for everything you do and the persuasive way by which you do it, as evidenced by not only your budget preparation, but your presentation here tonight. So thank you for all of that. I really mean that, Bob.
You're welcome, and thank you, Jim.
You know, I've gone through all your data, you know, okay. I can see you've got 4 cars, probably maybe 3. And that's the bulk of your increase in the 200 account, which is how come it's, you know, has such a large percentage increase. And we'll see how that goes. And I want to also thank you, unnoticed to anyone, but since I mentioned it last year and I see you executed to it, team, I would just want to show that everybody in their files that one of the PDF files we have is police motor vehicle. And someone took the trouble, and I think I remember making a recommendation like this last year. Hey, wouldn't it be great if we could see mileage last year, where it is now, where it was last year, and they even throw in hours. So once again, we have data on which to say, oh, that's what's going on. So Chief, I have more of a conceptual issue. And the reason I to ask you a question is I went through your document here, let's see, what's it called? Police log. Right, and everybody on our team, you remember, we always, oh, you have this many stops or this many of this and that's. But there were 2 items that really caught my eye. The building checks, of course, went significantly up, and you can comment on that. But it did not surprise me at all that your motor vehicle stop checks went down by 2/3. In a COVID environment, maybe that's not the best way we want our police officers to randomly be checking out other individuals. That leads me to, you can answer any of those thoughts, but what are the challenges, Bob, in doing the job you do for the town now. I'd really like to hear a word or two from you, not the numbers. We'll talk. But what are the challenges? Because to me, when I hear you tell me that the Orange Police Department is tier 1 in some 3 or 4 levels of tiers in the state, I'm laughing because I've been here since 1983. And we're pretty good. So tell me about the challenges that you see going forward. That just no, not formal. Just talk to me about that.
Yeah, so a couple of things to answer your question on the building checks and the car stops. Those both are a result of COVID. As we slowed down, as there were less cars on the road during the lockdown, our officers tried to stay proactive, and that involved doing a lot of building checks where they weren't responding to as many calls during that time period. They're not out there doing nothing. They're working hard, and that may be as simple as checking buildings. And some of those are reflected in the numbers that you see because they're what we call standing obligations, town buildings, schools, but we don't do a building check for every single building on the post road, but those were being done as well. And so you see that reflected in more building checks and more D runs. And some of it you don't see reflected at all. It's proactive work that's not getting recorded. And the car stops, there weren't as many cars on the road. There were COVID concerns and protecting our officers. And there was all this, these issues of the relationship between the police and the public. And certainly, we don't want to be a department that over polices, but at the same time, we want to keep our community safe. And, we didn't want to really be writing tickets in a pandemic either when people are having trouble putting food on the table. They may be losing their jobs and so forth. So that is not the proper way to do policing, is to kick people when they're down. And so that is a reflection of some of the numbers you see. Our challenges going forward are going to be maintaining our service level, maintaining our training, maintaining our personnel in this current climate. And I don't know when this climate is going to change or what's going to cause it to change, how long that's going to take. But the relationship between the police and the public, the great relationship that we enjoy here in Orange with our public and the people who live here, there are no issues here. And even with not our residents, but our transient population, there's a great deal of respect there. When I talk about our mission statement, when I talk about our core values, and our core values are surrounding our patch on the flag behind me, respect is a big part of it. And we treat everyone with respect. And when you do that, you get that respect back. So a lot of accountability, task forces, all these things that they've come up with, a lot of it boils down to common sense, and it's you treat people in a good way. And we've always done that here. And so we have not had a lot of problems. And I knock wood every time I say that you never know what's going to happen, but we treat people with respect. We've put the right things into place, and now it's a matter of maintaining that. And as we move forward, if things don't change, we're already seeing our applicant pool shrinking. And so that is one of the things we have to be concerned about. Where are our future police officers coming from? And again, you don't get an officer who is progressive and community focused by magic. That is something that when we bring the officer on, they're handpicked. We make sure through our interview process that they're going to be a good fit for this town. We're looking to make sure not only are they going to be a good police officer, but are they a good person? So it starts there. And then we train that officer and we discipline that officer and we indoctrinate that officer to our culture. And that all takes time. And so continuing to maintain that with a smaller applicant pool is going to be difficult going forward.
Hey,
And-
Bob, that applicant pool shrinking that feels to me, I don't know, no data and no awareness. But my gut is telling me this. That's not just Orange. That's across the board. How much is that for us compared to other places, if that observation is accurate?
It is accurate. We're seeing it already. You know, we have challenges. We have a good police department. We do have the 401 pension, which could be very, very lucrative if properly invested. But not everyone sees it that way. Sometimes these young officers are looking for a more traditional pension. So
Right.
we've been dealing with that since 1999. But unlike some departments that go to that and then they have people bleed away, we've only had people trickle away. So we've still been able to maintain a good police department, even with that in place. But as we go forward into the future, you know, we picked up 2 laterals recently from the Hartford Police Department. And some of those bigger cities, as a result of the issues going on in the world, they're losing a lot of people. And so those bigger cities may be coming to the suburbs. We were able to pick up 2 of them, but also it's going to affect all of us in that, you know, what are your benefits like? What is your pay like? What is your pension like? All of those different things are going to be more and more crucial going forward as that applicant pool shrinks.
All right, good. Thank you.
I have a question, Chief. I noticed that the medical emergencies have actually gone down this year. Somehow that's counterintuitive. Can you explain why that happened?
Sure. In part, more people were staying locked down at home as a result of the pandemic. So they weren't out and about getting into situations where they may get injured or hurt. Part of it is people were very, very fearful of COVID. So they weren't calling medical services. They were dealing with things themselves or through a doctor because they didn't want to go to the hospital and risk getting sick from their visit to the hospital. So that was something that slowed down quite a bit, especially during the lockdown period. But we're seeing those numbers go right back up to where they were before. And, you know, currently we are back to averaging about 4.5 medicals a day, getting closer to 5 medicals a day, which is a lot for a small town like us. And again, we're the medical first responder.
Right.
Our fire department does an outstanding job, but they don't go to medicals. They're a supplemental first responder. If we get overwhelmed, we could call them. But in your bigger cities, fire departments are going to the medicals.
Right.
We do that as the police department, and we welcome that. And I'm glad you brought that up, because one point that I do want to touch on is, you know, part of police accountability and part of, you know, the task force and these pillars is maintaining a philosophy of being guardians versus warriors. And our officers have those critical thinking skills. They're college educated, and also they have those medical skills. So when you are going to medicals, 4.5, 5 medicals a day, you are maintaining that guardian mindset. You're taking care of people. You're taking care of them medically. You're understanding when people are in crisis, whether it's a psychological crisis, whether they're suffering a medical crisis. Our officers are very, very good at that. So having that on our shoulders, we welcome it. That helps us to maintain that critical guardian mindset.
Thank you.
Chief, and again, it's PJ Shanley. Having, you know, had relatives, both my in-laws have had, unfortunately, many instances where the police department has responded for medical reasons. The police officers that responded were exemplary, professional, helpful. Unfortunately, there was some serious incidents, and then simple slip and falls and lift assists. They were been terrific. So personally, from that standpoint, I'd like to thank the entire force for that.
You're welcome, PJ. Thank you.
Chief Kevin Moffett, just a quick question. What's your current staff level now?
We are authorized 46. We have 2 in a virtual police academy right now, and we have 4 officers out on extended leave for various reasons, injuries and so forth.
Okay. And so with those of that 46, including the 2 and the 4, you're those are all part of your 46, or do you have any openings? I guess is the last question I have.
I believe we have 1 opening as well right now, in addition to that. So we are running short.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, so Bob, could you summarize that? Because, you know me and math. So authorized for, what are you budgeted for?
We're budgeted for 46.
Okay. And, okay, so within the 46, you got 4 out for whatever good and just reasons, and you have 2 in the academy. They're inside that 46?
Yes.
Okay, so what does 1 open mean? That we only have 41 and we have the 4 and the, where? We only have 39 and we have the 4 and the 2 and 1 opening?
We have 45 and 1 opening.
Okay, and in the 45, we have the 4 and the 2 that you just mentioned.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Thank you.
The Hartford situation worked out pretty well, correct?
Yeah, it did.
Honestly, Bob, I see that trend continuing big time. I do. Benefits us.
Both of those officers are doing excellent. They fit in here very, very quickly, and their training time was very brief, and they're both doing very, very well so far.
Good to hear it.
Chief, could you give us an example of what would fall under the miscellaneous category?
Which miscellaneous category? There's a couple of them.
Are you talking, PJ, on the police log?
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's 388, just says miscellaneous.
PJ, that could be almost anything that's not covered by any of these other areas.
Okay.
Minor nature, otherwise it would be covered by one of the other areas.
And the new vehicles, you're sticking with the SUVs?
Yeah, probably.
And even though we had a decrease in medicals, you're still averaging 5+ a day.
We're averaging about 4.5 a day. The decrease was short-lived. That was mostly during lockdown. We're seeing that number has gone back up. And, interestingly, AMR saw a decrease at the same time that we did in general. And a lot of that was because people were staying safe at home. And a lot of people were afraid to activate EMS. They didn't want to go to the hospital. And so that tended to result in bigger problems for some people because they ignored the warning signs of a pending medical problem. But they experienced the same thing. Their numbers went way down during the lockdown, but that has all gone by the wayside. We're back to normal now. We're doing the same amount of medicals that we were before, which is a lot.
So Bob, what's your total vehicle inventory? I don't see a number, 1 to X, 1 to 30 or whatever it would be. But I'm looking at the sheet right now.
Yeah, if you look at that sheet, we've got about 15 or so marked cars, and we have several unmarked cars. So if you count those lines, Jim, that'll give you our exact inventory. And
Oh, if it was an Excel sheet rather than a PDF, I would have already done it. When you have the categories of vehicles, the top section is like your regular vehicles or,
yeah, that top section is patrol vehicles.
right?
And then you have the second section is administrative vehicles and investigative services vehicles.
Right.
Then you have miscellaneous vehicles. After that, you got the 2 motorcycles,
Right.
2 ATVs,
Yeah.
and then that bottom section, we have a training vehicle, and our support services, which is that former human services van that we took and made into a support services vehicle. If you recall, we were able to do that at a very, very low cost when we were looking at about $80,000 to buy one. We were able to get that for a song, really, and off of the state auction, and then through the work of our officers, some carpentry work, some other work to put decals and so forth on the vehicle rather than paint it. We were able to make that into a very nice support services vehicle at a very low cost.
I would very much like to get this in Excel file. I've already started looking at the data more closely.
Okay.
If you could send it, no rush, Bob, and how it affects the budget, hell, I know. But I'm just looking at it, and it's kind of interesting. There's clearly a couple of typos in there. I won't bother you with it, but if you just look at it, you're going to see stuff that I'm not sure, or maybe my brain is not working right, and I think that ultimately that's what I'm observing right now. So sorry about that. But send me the Excel file. I kind of like to toy with it, just nothing else to do type of thing, I guess.
Yeah, and we'll do that, and also keep in mind that there's a lot of moving parts to this document that you're looking at. We move the furniture around, and a vehicle's original intended purpose might not be what it ultimately is at the time that it's taken out of service. So we get very, very creative in being able to maintain this fleet the right way and to get the most we possibly can.
Here's one tip, okay? And again, just so that when somebody wants to relook at it, and if they heard me say something, just if a prior year's third one from the bottom in the officer section, if you had 86,000 miles last year, I'm not sure you had 13 this year.
What that is that vehicle was taken out of service, so probably that prior year mileage should have been left blank because that now is a new vehicle. So the new vehicle has 13,000 miles.
Oh, well, that leads to another question, but the idea would be, then why are we documenting it that way? That doesn't make sense to me, right? Because if that line item is supposed to be an item, an asset, and the asset last year it's not the same asset, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at 86,000 miles, but it's not that vehicle. Now it's another vehicle that has 13 this year, all right, which was 2,200 odd hours. Good, all good. God bless.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But don't tell me that line item is the same asset because you just said we should have 2 line items. That's all.
Yeah, understood.
All good.
Anyone else have any questions?
I'm good.
Thanks very much. And Jim, I just actually converted that PDF to an Excel sheet, so I'll send that out.
And you have to teach me how to do that. Thank
So,
you.
all right, well, I guess we can, thank you very much, Chief and Assistant Chief, and I'm sure we'll be talking in the coming days and weeks. But thank you for this evening, and again, you know, like everyone else said, thank you for everything you're doing, because these are extremely tough times, especially for police officers.
Oh,
You know, you can't overstate that enough. Of, you know, I don't want to say the abuse you take, but you do. I see it here in Brantford. I see it with my clients in Fairfield, Bridgeport, and that are on forces there. And it's not been a great year for all. And thanks for everything and keeping your chin up and doing all the hard work.
Thank you. You're
You know.
welcome. Thank you. And again, thank you so much, all of you, for your support that has been ongoing. It's very much appreciated.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Have a nice evening.
All right, you too.
Hey, Joey.
I'm alive. I'm here. I'm alive.
How was the golf today?
I got a little wet. Don't mind them, Chief. Ignore them.
Well, Mr. Britton's with us, so we'll move on to item number 5, Public Works. He was with us.
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. It's Zoom, it switches. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Okay.
he goes.
Whenever
Jim,
you're
you
ready.
need, by the way, you need, oh, now I can't remember the name of it. You need to pay for your, I'll get the name, to convert files from PDFs.
Thank you.
I will send it to you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You want me to walk through the budget, or do you guys have specific questions?
I think you don't need to go line by line, but if there's anything that really stands out, like to me, not a whole lot did, but obviously the streets and bridges in those areas I understand, especially as our this
Yeah, why
winter's
don't you
been
give us a
brutal,
minute or
so.
two, Bob, if you don't mind. Just, just make believe we just sat in before the meeting started and you just wanted, I said, hey, give me 3 minutes about your budget that we all have seen as we kind of sharpen our pencils here. Just talk to us about what you see, what's in the budget, what's changed, major, that kind of thing. Just give us 3 minutes.
Yeah. So it's you guys are probably very familiar with the budget. So I'll just highlight any areas where it's any significant differences.
Yeah, okay.
So under the 21,250 Public Works Administration, the account for consulting services, I'm requesting an increase to 20,000. And that's primarily for stormwater permitting costs. I think it had been reduced last year maybe to 15,000, or the request was reduced back to 15,000. And we're going to spend all of that, and I could probably spend more.
What do you do with that kind of stuff, Bob? Talk to us.
Well, we've got the transfer station and the highway garage both have what they call industrial stormwater permits,
Okay.
and they require sampling and testing during rainstorms.
Right.
Certain testing quarterly, certain testing semi-annually. And the price for that during the current year is about $9,400. Then there's another permit that applies to the whole town's storm sewer system. And it looks like going forward, testing 6 of the outfalls every year will cost about $1,600. And we are still working on some of the compliance tasks for that permit. 2 years ago or so, you had allocated some capital money that let us address some of the major items, but there's still 13,000 or so of later requirements that are kicking in this year and next year. So that's why I'm asking for more money in that consulting services line item. Anything else in the, any other questions on the Public Works Administration?
That's the only line item that went up. other-
Yep, significantly, yep.
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
everything else is just salary.
All right.
union
Well, this looks like a
and-
good process. Let's continue it.
21,255 Public Works roadways. That's our highway department. I'm again asking for an increase in the emergency tree removal line item. And that's just based on what we've been actually spending, more in the $45,000, $50,000 range. And I do know you did increase it a bit last year. It's just that we get complaints about dead trees, and when we get the complaints, we we act on them.
Has that gotten better with all the cutting that
Yeah.
wide, or no?
Well, this year I'm wondering if we're going to be lower because there were a number of trees that were taken out during and after Tropical Storm Isaias.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that may cause this year to be better. But long term, it does seem to be there's a lot of trees, and these are all just trees in the highway right away.
Give us an example of where a tree that you've taken down recently and where it was in town.
I haven't taken down any of them. This mostly pays the contractors
Okay.
to take down larger trees. I'm trying to think where I saw them working. They were on Ridge Road.
But we authorize that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Don Foyer.
Do you
is the-
authorize it?
Don Foyer is the
Donnie.
assistant tree warden, I believe.
Okay.
Jim,
he deals with those.
if I can, Jim, I'll give you a little more thing on that. When Don gets a complaint, goes out and looks at if it's in the town right away, he'll mark it down. Eventually, he'll put a group of them out to bid. He'll put a stripe around them, goes out to bid, goes on our website. I believe it goes on the state website also, Bob,
Yep.
right? And they
Correct.
come in, bid, the bidders come in, lowest bidder gets it.
Yep.
Goes to I think it goes to the Board of Selectmen for approval, doesn't it? Maybe
Yes.
not. No, it may be.
No, it
And
did.
that's basically how it happens. And that account has been going up for the last few years.
Okay. Thank you.
And those are just strictly trees that affect the town roads, correct?
They're in the
Correct.
right of way.
Right away, okay.
Yeah, they have to be dead or dying.
Okay. All
Thank
right.
you.
On the,
255.
pardon me?
I said that would be 255, right?
Yeah, there's on the next page, there's another line item for streets and bridges, which I think Kevin mentioned. He's familiar. It's a similar request to last year. Just we're asking for more money. This line item pays for a number of expenses. When we get to the end of the year, if we haven't used it for guardrail or bridge repair or anything like that, whatever's left we use for paving. And I think, as I mentioned last year, or maybe even the year before, the bond money was fully expended last year. So any paving is going to either come from, until there's more bonding, that is going to come from operating budget, and unless there's any surplus. I know we got a little bit more done last year because we hardly had any winter, so we used very little salt
Right.
in snow plowing. So that's that request is more paving, and I know there's more guardrails that need to be done. I if you go up Dogburn Road, there's a number of those old wood posts with two cables. I see somebody has gone through one of those recently, so it's going to need some work.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Bob, can I ask you a quick question? It's PJ Shanley.
Yeah.
Do we have any bridges that we think in the next few years are going to need to be replaced?
No big bridges. You know, I looked through that, and I'm glad my predecessors did a pretty good job of taking care of bridges. So nothing is currently in bad shape. There's I guess they classify it as a bridge, but I call it like a culvert on Derby Milford Road near East Slope. It has some scour. That's not a big structure. There's some culverts on Coachman's and what's the road next to it? There's two.
Sportsman?
No. Just upstream from it. But I mean, they're small. Right now, I think it's two 24-inch pipes. Nothing really big. So I don't know of any big bridge projects coming up.
Thank you.
John, does the state still give us Town Aid Road, or did that all get commingled?
They still give it to us, but we use it for sand and salt, and if there's any left over, last year I believe we used it for paving.
Right. No, I just didn't know if they had. I should have it here, but I don't. What the projected.
275.
I think it's the same amount as last year.
Okay.
Yeah, 275,000. And that under the 21-257 Public Works snow removal, related to that request, asking for 120,000 for the sand and salt item, which we use to buy salt, and that would get us to full funding for the expected salt purchase, meaning that the entire Town Aid Road could be paving funds.
Okay. So that's how come you up to 20%.
Yeah. The goal is to try to, 'cause I think in the past we've been spending, a good portion of Town Aid Road was going to the salt. It just leaves less for paving.
John, is that why the actuals on this Excel sheet were so low in 18, 19, 19, 20?
Well, last year was, both winters went, but last year we just didn't use much salt.
Right.
It was above
Yeah.
freezing all of February.
I believe, Jim, since I've been here, I think we've been trying to get the appropriate amount that we're using into
Okay.
that account instead of using the Town Aid Road. We've been trying to use the Town Aid Road to do piers
By the
on
way-
the road.
By the way, John, you are on blank. In other words, no one can see you. At least I
Yeah,
can.
I know that. Having a little camera trouble tonight.
No, it's all good. I just wanted to let you know, just trying to work as a team. That's all. Okay, so that's 257. Is that the end of that one?
It
you
is
go to
for
blank?
me.
Could you go to blank too, Jim?
Say what?
I interrupt for a second.
Just kidding.
There's a Brendan Lynch trying to join. Is he still?
He's Parks and Rec.
Yeah, he's next.
Yeah, you can let him in.
I'll let him in now. Thank you.
Under 21-258 Public Works Vehicle Maintenance. In preparing for this meeting, I realized I had made a mistake. The highway garage had asked for $10,000 additional in the maintenance parts line item, and I had put it in the repairs and maintenance one. The reasoning that they asked for it is that they're maintaining the fire engines now. So they would need more parts.
The volunteer firemen.
So they
Yep.
were not maintaining that before?
No. I'm not sure how that evolved, but I know I've seen bills for parts for fire engines.
Okay, let's just put a sticker on that one.
Mhm. and you got my correction that the repairs and maintenance one that I had requested to go up from 42.5 to 52.5 should stay at 42.5.
Correct.
And instead, the maintenance parts should go from 67.5 to 77.5.
For the rationale you just described, to assist in the repair of the Orange Volunteer Fire Association trucks.
That's correct.
Thank you.
That was expressed to me, and I don't know who made the decision to do it, but I believe that's what we're doing.
Bob, can I just make a request for next year, please?
Certainly.
I found your narrative to be helpful, extremely helpful. One request would be if you could put like an increase from and to, so we don't have to go back and look what it was at and what you're requesting. Would
Yeah,
be
I'll try to
tremendously helpful.
Yep. Good
try to
pickup.
remember that next year,
Thank you.
and we'll hopefully be in person next year.
Oh, that'd be great. I'll take that.
What a concept.
Sooner than that, I hope.
All right, so you're walking in here and you're asking for a 4.5% increase on a $4 million budget.
Are you looking at the bottom line?
Yeah, at least Public Works.
And I mean, it's in general, some of the things, and if you've read the memo, I look back and if that's what we're actually spending, like for trees or repairs at the transfer station, that's the reason I'm asking. It looks like the right number to budget. And these aren't really discretionary expenditures.
No, but hey, listen, Bob.
Yes.
Come on. Budgeting, right? We always know when we have needs for something new. I wish, and this is saying it as a general thing, and we assume that everything we've done on everything in the past is exactly what we need to do again in the future. I don't think that's how we operate our homes. That's all.
No, and that's why I'm, trying to not spend all night on. I'm just doing highlights.
Yep.
And you're right. Some of the items come in under, which is a good thing.
Right.
And I guess to the extent when we notice that they come in way under, then we reduce them.
Yeah.
I try to budget conservatively, which in my case means, trying to adequately estimate the costs.
All right, thank you.
Under 21,261 refuse, recommending an increase in repairs and maintenance. It's mostly the compactor and things related to it. Seems to be breaking down frequently.
Yeah, more than double.
Yeah. The 10,000 includes some routine expenses like renting a porta potty and things like that. So the full 10,000 isn't even available for repairs.
Mm.
And the brush disposal, in hindsight, I made a mistake last year. I was good. We stopped, we ground up stuff in the spring and stopped because we're out of money. But the mulch pile started, because of that tropical storm, the markets for wood were gone and we couldn't get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
And around November, it started lighting itself on fire every couple of days. Well, we can't do that again. And then the residential recycling, it's mostly the tipping fee. This was assuming an $85 a ton tipping fee, and luck, because at the time I prepared the request, I think it was $87. It's been varying, but it's currently down to 72 and change. 85 is pretty conservative. It may be possible to go down a little bit on that. I know I only started here 3 years ago and we were getting $20 a ton. We were getting paid $20 a ton at the time, and now we're paying $80. That is refuse.
And John, any of the new revenue programs with the charging people when they have too much money, that's gonna be on the other side. It's not netted out, right?
The bulky waste charges, you mean, or?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been very successful in reducing the total amount of bulky waste. And I think from looking at our tonnage in the summer, we're about half of that now.
wow.
Because there are, from what I've been told, there are other places that charge less. But we're not really in the commercial bulky waste business, so.
Oh, so it's still a savings to the town overall then.
Yes, less from revenue and more from not causing expense.
Question on that page, the salary lines went up by almost 22,000.
Is that 261, Pat?
First line, yep.
Yeah, 261, first line.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I can tell you what that is, Pat.
Okay,
Last year, the Board of Selectmen, through the Personnel Committee, voted to add another person down there, and it wasn't put in last year's budget.
mhm.
So it's now in this year's budget. And there may be some changes coming down the road to that also.
Okay,
Yeah, the position was
Pat.
approved last year, but because there wasn't funding, we never hired an individual. I'm happy to keep going. But I don't see anything too major in the rest of them. And I think my allotted time is up.
Which,
So this is pretty straightforward. Is there anybody have any other questions at the moment?
just one, Kevin. Bob, your scope does not include the 271 items?
271 is High Plains.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you.
it does.
It does include it?
Yes.
Pat,
I
before you-
have a quick question for you.
Hold on a second, but go ahead. Go. Pat, before you ask there on the custodians, an increase in hours for the custodians also. Plus now with the COVID, they're doing a little more cleaning.
I was going to ask that. You figured it out.
Go ahead, Joe, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Just a quick question for you, Bob. On that project on Route 1, I believe the state is handling it next to Chips on the
Yes.
roadway, the little brook. What's the status of that? Did they keep us apprised of that?
No.
They do not, no.
No. Interestingly, though, I did have a Zoom meeting or whatever like this today with the state on their next phase, which goes from Lambert to the Milford line, which they're under design for. And they'll be doing a public information meeting around May, and it's probably going to be this type of format. I told them I thought what most people are going to be concerned about is the traffic patterns and access to businesses. And they wondered if there was any, said, oh, it'll probably be like the section that's under construction now. And I'm not sure if that's a good example.
Oh, that's good. Well, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Good.
Anyone else?
Thanks, Bob, for responding to my questions.
Anytime.
You guys have been doing a great job with the plowing this season, as compared to last year where we had very little. This year we seemed like every other day something's popping up, but your guys have been doing a great job.
Hopefully we're almost done with that.
Yeah, please.
Amen.
I hope so.
Fingers crossed.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 6, we're a little behind, but Park and Recreation, Dan Lynch. Hi, Dan, how you doing?
Hi, everybody. How's everybody?
Good,
Hey,
Dan.
Dan.
How are you?
All good.
All good. Good to hear.
Okay.
And 4.
And we found a process that seems to work, kind of.
Sure.
You take a section, give us an overview.
Sure.
Rather than just here's the numbers and all that. Just give us, a minute or two overview, then we'll section by section or department, whatever, the launch system, we'll just walk right through it.
Okay. Sounds good. Administration's the first. Honestly, across the board, I really haven't gone up on much. We'll see some things along the way with the pool, just because with COVID stuff, you'll see that. But administration-wise, the only thing that was increased and was requested by Paul Mongillo, IT director, was with the computer maintenance increase for the line portion for our rec track system for the payment and registration online for the future. That was the only increase there under administration.
Let me just go into that a little bit.
Sure.
We brought on, or Paul brought on with Park and Rec, a new updated system, a rec track, about a year ago. And part of the new system is going to allow them to take payments by credit card over the phone or on computer. People could sit home at their kitchen table, dining room table, whatever, sign up for day camp, sign up for swim lessons, whatever. Now they have to come in. Currently, they still have to come in, right, Dan?
Yes.
To do it when you do have that stuff going on. So in the future, it's going to make it easier for the residents and also cut down on the traffic going in and out of the Park and Rec office.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
Okay, Dan, you go on.
Okay. No problem. That was the only thing in administration wise, unless anybody has any questions. Everything else has stayed status quo under that heading.
So to just ground us all, in the summary page, where you're asking for a 2.5% increase for this Park and Rec admin, you're telling us that almost 2%, 1.9 of that, so that's over 75% of that increase is because of salaries, and there's just a modest other increase.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. If you don't have any other questions on administration, I'll slide over to maintenance next. Everything has stayed status quo there. The only increase there is for the porta-johns, the cleaning due to the COVID pandemic. United Site Services has increased their pricing and the amount of times the porta-johns need to be cleaned during that time at the parks and the fields. They had to be at least cleaned twice during the week instead of once like it normally is. And they had an option of 3 times, but we stayed with the 2. And that was the, I don't know what's going to come up for this year between April and November, but I had to increase it in case they have the same protocol for the cleaning.
Good.
Okay.
7155.
Everybody good there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll move on to the pool. The pool has some little minor changes to it too, including staff and cleaning supplies and chemicals, etc. And you'll see Sue's explanations there for reasoning. Some stuff she lowered from last year, and then other stuff had to be increased. I can answer any questions you have on that as best as I can in terms of the pool.
One item there, the pool staff, the $7,000 increase. For the last couple of years, the pool hasn't run the full 12 months. First, it was because of the locker rooms. And there was something else, I think, that went on there that caused the pool to be down. I can't remember what it is offhand.
They had a pump, didn't
Something
they?
else, and they were closed. I remember that, John, too.
It
Yeah.
was a mechanical problem, I think, with the pumps or something.
Yes.
Okay, so they haven't really been open for 12 for the whole 12 months over the last 2 years because of those items. Plus, most of their people down there, other than Sue, are on minimum wage, and the minimum wage has gone up 3 times in 3 years, and it's going up 5 times in 5 years. So we finally had to account for that, and it's that the way they run it there. They have 3 levels of salaries there. They have the new person coming in as a lifeguard. They have a middle person and then a top person. And there's like $1 between each step. So every time the minimum wage went up, we had to run those other steps up. So it's all kind of like a domino effect there.
Right.
Good. Thanks for that explanation.
Yep. Thanks, John.
I just need to get back to water aerobics, please.
I try. If we can get all that stuff back, I'll take it.
Hey,
Please.
here's something I want to point out. I want to point out that this feels to me like something that's modest amount of money, but it tells me when you have 2 line items have reduced their budget, they're looking at it, they're checking it out. They're saying, okay, what can we do? We don't need as much. And even though it's a modest, very modest amount of money, it's an attitude. And I like that. I think it's do at home.
We try. And if I could quickly, because I know you guys are pressed for time, I just have to publicly, to all you guys and your committee, personally thank my staff again. I've talked about it with my commission at length over our months of meetings. Between when this started last March up through now, our staff has done a terrific job with everything. We ran a summer camp this year for 8 weeks with 80, 90 kids. We had not one problem. We've run some other programs, not to the extent that we normally do. There was a summer baseball down at Old Tavern and fall season that we got through with no issues. So in terms of our staff, I just want to personally and publicly thank them for a job well done during a very, very difficult time.
An understatement.
Yep.
Great job.
And,
Good job.
And
Good
thanks to
leadership.
your committee as well.
Agree.
Also, John Cifarelli has been a big help to our department through all this, and I want to thank him as well.
Hey, Dan.
Yes.
Why don't you tell them about the deal with the lights at the Little League? I think they'd like to hear about that.
Absolutely. Thanks to John again and Mike Visnick from the Orange Little League, who is the former president of Orange Little League, is still now on the board, but he's doing, he's like with the fields and all the fix-up work down on that part of the board for Little League. Did a lot of grunt work and to get this program through UI, where we're going to get all new, brand new LED lighting down at all 3 of our lighted fields down at Old Tavern. Through the hard work of Mike and John through UI, John can explain the finances more than I can in regards to that. That's going to bring a big addition to that park with the lighting down there that's been desperately needed for years.
So it's going to improve the lighting.
More to finances of that, but it's going to be a big down there.
Dan,
Yes,
is that, so that's going to improve the lighting?
absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay. And John, on the finances side?
The cost was about $251,000. UI has given us a grant for $200,000. It leaves about a $51,000 cost over 3 years. The Little League, Amity, athletics, the grind, and they're gonna do some other fundraising to try and bring that cost down substantially to the town.
So we're gonna end up with brand new lights for
On
less
three
than
fields.
replacing the bulbs.
Right, and they're
Exactly.
telling us we're going to save about $17,000 a year in electricity costs because of the LED lights down there.
We rent out those fields to, I don't know what to call it, but, not Orange, Connecticut teams, let's just say,
Yeah.
sometimes.
There's a few groups that come in from the outside that pay.
Right.
The local, the Orange Little League, the Babe Ruth, the people that are in the umbrella of the Orange Little League, they don't pay, but the outside group do, that use those fields and with the lights too as well, are charged.
Well, with improved lighting, I would think that,
right.
Dan, yeah, but you know where I'm going with this. If they like it with the lighting they have now, with improved lighting,
Yes.
they like it more, so that I think there's an opportunity there.
Yes. John and I have discussed that. There will be some increases for the rentals of those fields as well.
All good.
And the fields with lights now, Dan, it's Brindley, Roach, and the softball field.
Brinley, Stanky, which is the softball field.
Thank you. Okay.
Yep.
Just the three. There's no new, they're not going to light any of the.
No.
Okay.
No need. Nope.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, anybody have any final questions for Dan?
And the last line item for our department is the programs, and there's no increases there. Everything's status quo. Our fitness room is open right now, only Monday through Friday, from 10 to 2, until further notice, until we can. It's worked out well. It's a lot for it's geared more towards the regulars that come in there. There's only we can only have a certain amount in there at a time, and there's dotted rules and regulations that they have to follow as well, just like the pool. But we are open. It's minimal, but it's worked out, and people are happy that they have somewhere to go. Hopefully down the road we can get back to our normal hours, but right now that's where we stand until further notice.
Great. Thanks, Dan.
Yep.
Thank you.
Got it. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep. Thanks, Dan.
You got it. Any other questions? You know how to get a hold of me. Thanks again.
Find you, or help John find you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, now we're actually back on schedule. Item number 7, Orange Economic Development Corp. Anne Marie Slibby, welcome. Oh, I think we're muted. We need volume.
All right, I have you now. Can you hear me now?
Now you're back.
My sound off. I'm Anne Marie Flyby, the Director for Economic Development. I do have a presentation if you wanted to see it, if you wanted me to share a screen, or I'll just run through things. We are requesting a $10,000 increase to the EDC donation line account. This year we were hit hard with COVID. We have programs and events that we usually put on to contribute to our income, and those events were canceled due to COVID. One would be the Business Expo that I have in June. We had to cancel the summer edition of Orange Life magazine, and we had a legislative breakfast in March we had to cancel. So with that, we've lost $29,000 of income. So with trying to put events back together, we're limited with restrictions, and not only that, with the business community, who is also hit hard, they've had a reduction in their marketing budget as well. So it's difficult to fundraise and get contributions out of the businesses as well. So I'm looking to increase the budget so that we can continue on. I don't know if you have any questions or any other information you want from me. We have reduced our expenses. I had reduced the copier expense I had downsized Orange Life magazine. I was able to do a winter edition, so I downsized it to the page count, and I changed printers to a local printer who is a bit cheaper than the one I was using, and also the binding quality is changed so that I could reduce expenses there. So with that, I'm trying to produce the spring edition to Orange Life magazine. And that, the magazine contributes, let's see, where is it? Contributes about $8,000 in income. The expo is $19,000 in income. With that, I'm trying to do an outdoor event this year. But again, just trying to get the business community to participate in things like that is difficult.
Hey, Anne Marie, Jim Leahy. 8,000 comes from where, and 18, could you run that by us again?
Sure. The money that I usually make on the magazine is about $7,600 to $8,000, depending on how many ad sales I get.
Yeah.
The business expo that I have in June, I usually make about $19,000 or $20,000 on that. So this year I'm changing the expo to be an all outdoor event. So with that new event, again, like I don't know if businesses will participate. I've been trying to get sponsorships. I've only gotten 2 sponsorships so far. So, you know, the business community was hit hard. So with their participation, if they don't contribute, then I can't put on these events. So therefore, I don't get the income from it.
I'm curious, not to, go crazy, but I'll be very interested right now. Where outdoor?
At the community center, the fairgrounds.
Oh, okay. There may be some creative opportunity there is what I'm thinking, yeah.
Yeah, so I also run the farmer's market every Thursday from June to September, and
okay.
rather than canceling that event, I went through it, and I had my assistant there, and we blocked it off with an entrance and an exit so that we can check everybody for masks and squirt the hand sanitizer on it, and we ran it like that, and I counted people coming in and out. So with that, trying to create that type of atmosphere for an outdoor event for the expo, and we're calling it an artisan and vendor fair, so it's going to be more community oriented. So again, though, I have to make sure that businesses can participate, and that if I can get sponsors, so it's a whole new procedure now with going through COVID, because they're trying to get back to their budget as well, and their income is lost as well.
You mentioned the Thursday during the summer's event. I've gone to a few of them. I was very impressed.
Yes.
There was a line. What was it? 3:30.
Yes.
There was a line. I mean,
exactly.
So that's good.
So,
that I think I've heard from people who I don't know what the right word is. Sell product there. That it is a useful investment of their time.
The farmers market?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
people
were really happy to attend it. We've increased our participants to we've gotten up to 400 people on a night, obviously not at the same time. We only allow so many in at the same time, but we've increased our vendors, and the customers were really happy that we kept it on. I mean, they thank me all the time. Thanks for having it. With that, I did a one-time holiday event. I had never done a holiday farm market before, and I let in like more crafters and more holiday-oriented. And there's a couple of women that come to the farmers market every week. And when I came out of my office one night, they happened to be walking by, and they actually applauded after I had that event. And they said, "We're so happy you had that." So, I mean, people do seem to enjoy it. And with that, the artisan event that I'm having, I changed it to I usually do an expo on the Wednesday in June. So I changed that to have it on a Thursday right before the farm market, hoping to get that customer base coming in. So that'll kind of kick off the summer, kick off the farm market. But again, I still need the business participation and the sponsorships. So.
I was asking... that I think you're doing great stuff here.
Thank you.
might be some opportunity to try to turn some lemons into some lemonade. And maybe I should talk to you offline. But anyway, the people that sell at the farmers market get back directly. Do we charge for their use for them coming in?
Did you say bags?
Do we charge them, the people who sell goods?
Oh, the vendors. Yes.
The vendors, yeah.
Yes, we do. That event really doesn't bring much money to the corporation. It's about $400 because the resident farmers, they only pay $50 for the season. We keep it low because they're farmers. And also with the other vendors, which are non-farm vendors, we have honey, we have a woman that makes chocolate, and sometimes we have a guy that sharpens knives. We only charge $100 for the season for that. So it's not a real big money maker. It's more for the community, and we make a little money from it, but it's really just to, just keep it going for the summer. It's a good event for the community.
Right. How many
Yes,
years
we
have
do
we
try.
been doing this? Anne Marie, how many years have we been doing this?
Well, my predecessor, I came in 2016, and I took that over from my predecessor, Paul Grimmer, and I believe he was doing that for a year. So I want to say from 2015, we've been.
Years, it's been $50 for a season pass for the farmers to sell their products for the whole season.
Yes. Yes.
The whole season.
Yes. Yes.
If I were, this is screaming opportunity to me. Okay.
Okay.
In other words, I mean, at 10x isn't even close to what I think it's worth to the vendors.
Right. But when you do a comparison to other farm markets,
Yeah.
we can't really charge more than that because of comparison to the other markets, the other vendors that participate in other markets. A lot of these vendors, they'll do my market on a Thursday, they do Milford, they do Monroe, they do Trumbull. So we have to keep our prices in with everyone else. Like, we could never charge a whole lot more
Well,
to the vendors.
And they won't come.
If they're getting $15,000 for a season, and I don't think that's unrealistic, to be charging $50 for the luxury to do so, just seems a little out of line. That's all. I mean, peace.
Yeah.
Yes, we don't have to be.
Right.
I'm going
So
to
that's just one. That's an example of one event.
Yeah, I'm going to riff on this and just say, is there a way to get the farmers to donate to our food pantry in town?
I could ask them.
I mean, I think there's probably stuff left at the end of the day that would certainly benefit people who are hungry.
Sure, I'll ask them if they would do that.
That's great. Thank you.
Yep.
Now, I know there's probably things you can't share, but is there anything on the economic development front going on now that you can share?
Do you mean like with projects and things?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I did a little presentation for a business update that I had in PowerPoint if you wanted to see that. I mean, I have, pictures of ribbon cuttings and businesses that opened during the year, but I'll tell you what is going on. Let me just flip. So I'm not sure how much you know, but we have at the Trader Joe's Plaza, we have the space next to Trader Joe's, and that space was originally for a company called HomeSense, which is by the TJX Industries Corporation, who owns Marshalls, Home Goods, TJ Maxx. They've changed their vision, and now TJ Maxx is moving over to that spot. And that would be, it's supposed to be happening soon because the space is done. I think they're just trying to figure out with their stock on the other side. In front of that is Mission Barbecue, the old Bertucci's. They've leased half the space because the property owner is cutting that building in half. I don't know if it's too large for, just one user, but their Mission Barbecue will take over half of that. I know they went to zoning for outdoor dining there. I'm sure you're aware that Amazon moved in and the FedEx over there on Edison Road. We have a company called Montana Nights. It's an axe throwing entertainment venue that's going in, if you know, the Christmas Tree Shop Plaza where Golf Lounge 18 is. They're taking the space right across from that. And they're going to occupy that space, and they're supposed to open in May. Mickey Blake's just moved over from Milford. Let me just, we have, there's a bunch of land that was sold. Let me just.
And Mickey Blake's moved to.
I should have just, I don't know if you're aware that Big Low Tea just moved into town at 35 Executive Boulevard. There was a space there. It was the company Tango that moved out, and they demolished that building and they built a warehouse space, and they've been marketing it for about a year. And Big Low Tea is leasing that for 10 years, and that would be for their warehouse and distribution because their corporate headquarters is still in Fairfield. I mean, I know you know about the stuff from last year, Eastern Tech and the VA Community Center. There's Specialty Products and Insulation. They're a company from West Haven, and they're taking over 57 Robinson Boulevard, and they've been renovating the space before they move in. I'm not sure if they moved in yet. So that was a good for that spot. There's a new business called Orthos Now. It's an orthodontist. When you think of the name, I think of orthopedist, but it's an orthodontist company that's moved to 109 Boston Post Road, and that's, I think, middle of February, so they're just moving in. We're going to do a ribbon cutting March 3rd, I believe. I told you about Mickey Blake's, and Talbot's has gone out of business. I don't know if you have seen that coming by the Post Road, and I'm not sure what they're doing for that space yet, but that that's the plaza with the new TJ Maxx coming over. The Lampshades Plus is going out of business, and not anything to do with COVID, but the owner passed away recently, and they can't take it over, so that is ending March 31st, their lease. So that space will be up for, it'll be open there. There's land, there's companies expanding. There's Northeast Beverage at 32 Robinson Boulevard. They're doing a 41,000 square foot addition with 27 new parking spaces. New Met Machining on Edison Road is also increasing their space, a 19,000 addition. They're expanding their manufacturing and storage. A restaurant supply company bought the space 6569 Marshall Road before COVID, and they were going to construct their building, and then COVID hit. So I spoke to him over the summer, and he said that he was still going to build because I was afraid he was going to pull out. Still going to build, but he was waiting till, first quarter 2021. So hoping that is still going on, and then I will share, it's still going through zoning though, so I'm not sure if I should even share that one. Yale University bought 28 Salami land, which was the old Crowley land by DiCello. That was the transit-oriented districts that they're trying to rezone. And I'm not sure what they're going to do with the land, but they did purchase it, and I'm not sure what the plan is right now, but they are trying to zone it back to industrial, LI2 or LI1.
Now, was that the land that the town of Orange was actually going to be buying a couple years back? And
right, a couple years back.
That is the same property. Okay, so
that's
now
the
Yale
same
owns
property.
For the train
so
station.
Yale University.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the state was going to give us a grant, so we were going to get the land for free, and it was a little questionable.
Didn't work out. Right.
I remember that one.
Yeah, it seemed like a payoff to the Crowley family, but okay. So that's positive.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, honestly, there's a lot good going on. I know a lot of people, they see, I mean, I could read you, like I said, I have this in a PowerPoint if you wanted to see it in person. I can do that another time for you guys. I know you're busy, but there's been, companies that have closed due to COVID. But, on the other hand, during COVID, there's been companies that opened. So it's all positive. Like, I have pictures of Rings End opened in March. We got them from West Haven. That's great, in the Bedding Barn property. Mad Mike's Cheesesteaks and Salad, that opened up in March. He's doing really well over there. When COVID hit, he did a lot of takeout. Like I said, FedEx and Eastern Tech. We had the Orange Country Squire Barbershop open up in May over here in Orange Center Road in that plaza with Small Town Nutrition. Maria Small, she owns a bunch of small town, nutrition shake shops. So she's doing well. We had Benson Ferguson, Whitey Benson from West Haven, Ferguson Sports from Orange. They joined forces and they leased space next to Gabriel. So they're doing really well. They opened during COVID. We have a new pharmacy, V-Care Pharmacy, at the old Restoration Showroom on Indian River Road. It used to be a Restoration Showroom, but now it's got the dermatologist. It's got the, I think there's an eye doctor in there, and now there's a pharmacy. So we did that ribbon cutting in October. So I might be doing a story on them. The business losses, like I said, I have the I Love Kickboxing, that closed due to COVID. Urban Air Adventure Park, I speak to them all the time. They were trying to keep it open, but she said that her build-out loan was so high, she couldn't afford to do the lease and the loan. So they are trying to lease that to another user in the brand, in the Urban Entertainment brand. And she said if she can't, then she's still going to go into that, try to sell it to another entertainment industry. And she already had one from the brand and one from another entertainment industry interested. And that's a huge space. It's the old Builder Square on Bull Hill Lane. They were doing really well before COVID hit. So that's an example of another business that closed due to COVID. Shim's Cleaners, not sure if it was due to COVID or not, but they were in the Springbrook Plaza. They closed. Compass Yoga, they were new right before COVID hit, and they closed. So I know that was due to COVID. They were in the old Nico's Ice Cream spot that's in the Hook and Reel Plaza over there. So, I mean, we've had closings, but we've had a lot of good, positive businesses open, and even in the industrial section too. So it's not all doom and gloom. We got Amazon, which is a huge outfit over there. They took both buildings, Lowe's and the Sam's Club building. So what else can I tell you? Bev Max Liquor, that's a new liquor store in the TJ Maxx Plaza. They moved into the small footprint of the famous footwear footprint, but they're going to move over to the end cap, which used to be a liquor store, because they said we wanted to open up quick before the holidays, but after the holidays, they're renovating the space. The property owner is renovating the space for them, and they're going to move into the end cap. That, the last time I spoke to him before Christmas, that was the plan. So
that's where the liquor store used to be behind, is that Applebee's where that is?
Yes.
Okay.
There was a liquor store there about 2 years ago, and a new one moved in, but in the famous footwear spot. So I'm in touch with that property broker a lot. Her name is Nicole DeRose. She works directly for Raymore and Flanagan, so it's not outsourced. And I was telling her a couple of my visions for that plaza, and she finally went to one of the stores that I was telling her about. She loved it, and she says, I'm calling them tomorrow. She called me last week, but I missed the call. I called her back because I wanted to see if she had more information on, because when TJ Maxx moves over, that space will be available. So she seems to be positive about that. So I'm in touch with her a lot. I'm in touch with there's a lot of space vacant at the Christmas Tree Shop Plaza. So I speak with Jackie Perla, who works for Brixmore. She's in charge of that space. And I recently got her information from the property owner on the Boston Post Road that has a sign that borders the entrance into the Christmas Tree Shop from the Post Road. So I spoke to him to try to make some kind of arrangement to put other companies on that pylon, because she's trying to market that property and she has a few people interested, and they've asked if they could get exposure on the Post Road. So I've got them together. They're talking to see if they could come up with an agreement for, of course it has to go through zoning, our zoning for signage as well, but just getting the approval from the property owner to be able to have the sign up is a good, feeling. So things are going pretty good.
It sounds
I
like
think.
it, especially in these trying times. It sounds like.
Right. I mean, we have buildings vacant and things like that, but we're doing our best to market it.
Kevin?
Yeah, I'm sorry,
Hi.
go ahead.
I want to give Anne Marie a little credit also. She hasn't said it, but she works very closely with the first selectman on tips that either he hears or she hears, and she's the one chasing them down for him. So she's kind of the first contact that some of these businesses have with the town that are looking to come in, or we're trying to get them in, like such as Chick-fil-A. Everybody wants Chick-fil-A.
Yes, we do.
Right. I know.
I second that.
Yeah.
Anne Marie, without delay, send us your PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, sure. I will.
I was unaware of all the details. I mean, I think what I take away from your verbal presentation, which I think was excellent, well-structured, articulate, thank you. A lot of things are closing. Economic down, COVID, right? Restaurants are having a particularly hard time, right?
Right.
But there's a lot of other things happening in the churn of the American economy as it goes through, and you have to think of it as not like a 6-month cycle or even a 3-year cycle. It's a longer thing. But what I got from your presentation is that there is a lot of new kids in town. Okay.
Right.
And that gave me the idea, going back to what you want to do perhaps in June, is that could be a theme. I'm gonna give you that idea, okay? What useful, fine. Not useful, toss it. It's all good. All right, but new kids in town always want others to know about them, and they always not enough do. And that event in June could start not primarily new kids in town, but if you had a lot of them energized by that, you could energize those who are been around for a while, maybe wish their business had been better, or get them re-energized. So they're not quite sure, but there it is. It costs you nothing, and maybe that's worth of my idea. That's my idea. So send it the material, please, and there's an idea for you. That's my idea. That's and thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Anybody have any other questions?
Good.
Thank you very much. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
good presentation. Good information.
Very much.
Great job.
Thank you.
It's very positive.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Emery. Have a nice night. Appreciate it.
Okay, you too.
Nice job. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, move on to item number 8, budget discussion, next steps, Board of Ed meeting. We did send
About a 2-minute break, Kev.
What?
2-minute break? Or do we do this?
No, we can have let's, if you want that, I could certainly need some more water, so take a couple-minute break, everyone.
Yep.
Hey, how do you put yourself on, I've seen John go black, other people go black. I don't know how to do that.
Up in the right-hand corner of your box.
View?
And it says stop video.
There's a couple of dots, and you click on it and just hit stop video.
Stop video is what does it.
And then you will go back and restart it.
Oh.
Mine's on the bottom left. I think it varies for everybody.
Okay, I'm on the top.
Yeah, it does.
It looks like a camera.
Yeah, I see it. Thank you, Pat.
And by the way, the name of the software is Adobe Acrobat. That you can convert PDFs to Word documents that you can edit. Or
Kevin has already sent me the actual Excel file for that, but you're teaching me how to fish, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Right.
No, that's what it is.
Take a couple minutes and we'll reconvene in a few minutes.
Yeah, just to be clear, I'm going to keep this stream going, and looks like you guys are able to just mute yourselves or whatever, and then come back in.
Sounds like a plan.
Thanks.
Hey, Joe, after you hit stop video, right? What happens to be able to start it again? Do you know? You're on mute, Joe, I think.
So if you hit, like I hit stop video now, and then you go back to the three dots, a little menu in the blue, put your cursor to the upper right corner and start video.
Okay, I'll do stop video. I'll hit it. Okay, so wow.
You see it?
The I in my name got to be quite something there. Okay, so that gets me stopped.
Right, but just to be clear, we can still hear you. So stopping your video does not stop your audio.
Yeah, the mute. Yes.
Excellent edit. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, and now I'm back. Oh, it's as simple as that. You know, there's so many tricks. My daughter me on my iPhone. It's amazing. I can't tell you how many times I'm with people like in a store. I said, daughter will kill me if I don't figure it out.
Hey, Jim.
Show me.
Jim, I could give you a little easier one though than even that.
What do you got?
On your computer where your camera is. If you have a computer, there's a little slide there. You can slide it over the little pinhole where the camera is.
You mean I can't use my web and put my thing in front of the camera and make it a black thing?
Well, you can do that too. But I didn't
know what else to do.
I don't use stop video. I just slide the little thing over the camera.
God bless.
Mr. Cifarelli, do not screw Jim Leahy up.
Hey, Paul, tell him how much that Adobe is, though, to convert documents into Excel.
We do an annual subscription, and it amounts to about $125 a year.
Yes, I pay for it also, and it's $15 a month.
15 a month, Pat?
Yeah. It's a business expense.
Okay, I got it. It's a business expense, about $180 a year for that feature.
Yeah. Well, it does a lot of other stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
But it didn't work with something I wanted to do today, so.
Hey, Paul Mangillo, since you're there.
Yes, sir.
And I am seeing my Jim Leahy with a capital I in the word Jim. I'm sure. I have fat fingered that thing so many times when I do emails, it's ridiculous. So I know where the culprit is. So how do it's probably my Zoom setup, Paul. What do you think?
I actually just renamed you, but it shows up like that by default, right?
Yeah, I must have it in my default, Chris, I must have it in my default. Enter your PIN. My default Zoom thing, yes. It was when I originally set it up and I did the usual fat finger thing. I didn't notice it. It didn't, give me a red thing telling me, hey, something's wrong with this word. And then, life went on.
Just curious, if you go over to your, let's see. Can you scroll over to your name in participants?
Chris, you'll have to turn participants on. It's a button at the bottom of the screen. So, Jim, when you move your mouse around the screen where everyone's picture is, you'll have icons down at the bottom. You want to Participant.
Participants, yeah, I got it.
Yep. And then, so you select your name, and then there should be, or I think you right click.
Well, hold on. You're a step ahead of me because what I've done is I've clicked participants and nothing. Oh, there it is over there.
Yeah, it'll pop up in a different
Yep.
place sometimes.
Okay.
Yep. So if you can highlight, scroll over your name and right click, there might be an option to rename.
Right. But
Now-
you've already done that for me, I think.
Right. Now, is there a checkbox that says keep that name saved for next time or something?
Oh, wait a minute. Here's a more. It just says rename or add profile picture.
Yeah, hit rename there.
Okay.
And then is there a checkbox that says you can save that name for future?
No, it's just okay or cancel. And it would allow me to retype it, you know.
Okay.
Right. It's probably what you did from your end, Chris.
It is, but for from your end, sometimes you can save that
Yeah.
permanently, so it doesn't go back to that other name. But there's got to be another way to do it. I'll have to look into that.
No. What it means is I gotta start doing a little bit more of this all by myself, as I used to teach my kids, right? You know, all by yourself, right? And
Yeah.
even us adults can kind of pick up a little of that every once in a while. We can get
Yeah.
everybody.
It would be nice if you didn't have to change it every time.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, there might be a way to
We'll give it a look.
do that.
Not on Zoom that much, and now what you've done is you've taught me. Okay, I sign on. I go to participants. My name will eventually be there.
Right.
And with right click up there, I know how to edit it, which is,
Yep.
you know, it's a workaround, but it effectively does the same thing.
Yes, absolutely.
You taking any classes, Chris? Are we on TV still?
We are.
We're on break, but we're live.
Now, if anyone else
Never
is learning how to
mind.
rename themselves, they know.
Well, I'm interested in how your classes are going and how your sister's doing. So we'll talk another time.
Thanks. They're doing well. Thank you.
Good. Excellent. Oh, now I can do my stop video again.
All right, we got PJ back. Do we have Joe back?
Yes, I'm back, ready to go.
Yes.
Don, you there? Is John back?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you were on mute. You're blackened out and you were on mute.
I'm back.
Okay, so we'll go to item number 8, budget discussion, next steps, Board of Ed meeting. I believe we sent out that email for March 7th, if everyone's available that Monday evening.
March 8th.
March 8th.
March 8th, sorry.
March 8th at 7 o'clock on Zoom, and the request was to have their budget a week ahead of time.
So that works with everyone?
Yep.
Good.
Okay, and that's good with Dr. Scarpetti, John?
Yeah, I set up that date with him, and he cleared it with his chairman.
Okay. Is there anything else we have to hit under the budget discussion header on this line?
Not really.
Okay. So we're all set for March 8th. Item number 9, set date for budget hearing, April 21st, 2021.
Okay. The governor's executive orders run out on April 20th. So unless he extends some of them or all of them, we should be back to our normal practice of having an in-person budget meeting, adjourning, then the town has an annual meeting, and then after the annual meeting, 7 to 10 days after that, we have a budget referendum. So what we need to do is set our budget hearing date. So then the Board of Selectmen next month could set the town meeting date and then the referendum date. If the governor extends his executive orders and it covers the budgets again like last year, we'll just cancel it like we did last year and go by whatever procedures he says. So I'm proposing that we set the budget hearing on April 21st, which is the same time we have it every year, and it's not the week that school has off.
And it's not April 15th, so that's good.
Right. So we'll need a motion to that effect, if somebody would please.
So move.
Motion by Pat, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Kevin, any further discussion?
Yeah, I have one point. That's the same date that we estimated last time on the PowerPoint that we sent around. So
Right.
I took it right off your PowerPoint.
well, it's a V1, it's a version 1. You know, you can change it and make it, you know, but you have to start somewhere. Great.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, unanimous. Thank you. And PJ,
I
has
have a question
go ahead.
about the March 8th meeting. That just
Board of Ed?
be the Orange Board of Ed, or are we going to talk about other things? I'm thinking, should we start at 6 o'clock again? If there's going to be a lot on the agenda.
The only thing I have is Amity.
No, Orange.
Orange.
Orange,
right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, the regular monthly meeting is the 15th.
15th, yeah.
We're probably gonna need a special meeting in March to okay the audit also. I'm running into deadlines on the audit. We're trying to get that done. We're behind the 8 ball with that right now.
Hey, John,
Yes.
if we're going to be meeting on the 8th, and it would likely be a Zoom meeting, right?
Right.
One model of the universe could be that if we're going to be investing the time to say, here's a night and we're going to be doing stuff, to kind of put in not as much as, but, you know, a number of things so that, you know, we could leverage the fixed cost of having gotten together.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was PJ's point, right? PJ, moving up the time?
Yeah.
If we're going to do multiple things, I think it makes sense. You know, it's already.
No, I'm in. If that was a motion by PJ, I would second it. I'm not saying it is, but I'm in agreement with him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a discussion and a motion.
I mean, that night, everybody is Amity Finance Committee, the second Monday. But that's 5 to 6, so I can do 2 Zooms in a row. That's fine.
Hey, multitask, Joe.
I'll be jumping on the Zoom after I vote no again for the Amity budget.
Okay, it's easy then.
Joe, you were just conveying a message, apparently. Well, we'll see. They haven't finalized their budget, right?
I don't think so. John, could we reach out to Dr. Scarpetti? And if he can't be ready at 6, I don't see any reason why we can't start our meeting at 6 and then bring him in at 7.
I was just thinking that maybe start our meeting and then kick it over at 7.
If he can't do it, I'll ask him to do it at 6. If he can't do it, we'll start our meeting. We'll do our review of our minutes from tonight's meeting. You could have a little budget discussion if that. I was thinking you're going to do some budget discussion after he does his presentation anyways.
True, yes.
At least we can start looking at it, and you could give myself and Audrey some direction on what you want to do. I mean, I'm already taking some notes of what we may do.
And I think maybe in another couple of weeks, I have not spoken with Mark myself in a couple of weeks, but maybe we have more information from the assessor's office also.
Yeah, I did speak with him today, and he's still at under 1%, but he's working some items out with town council right now. So I do expect to have that shortly.
When you say under 1%, John, you mean the grand list increase is expected roughly, but unofficially at a 1% increase. Is that correct?
Under 1%.
Under 1%. Thank you.
Under 1%.
Okay. So we'll change that starting time till 6 o'clock. Okay. Now we're going to go to the Amity update, item number 10. We do have, I think everyone received the email, and I think, John, should I read this entire letter from Anna Mann into the record?
She asked that I believe that you do it. It was read at the Board of Selectmen, and you each have a copy of it. I've sent you each a copy of it, so I would say that's up to you.
Unless we want to take a page from the Amity playbook where they don't read stuff into the minutes.
Right. I mean, and by the way, I've surprise, thoughts on this. And, you know, let's remind our audience, our taxpayers in town or anybody watching OGAT. We invest a lot of time last May responding to a situation where, having had $3.5 million of surplus, not unlike 2 years ago when they had the same over $3 million in surplus, the Board of Education was like sending Joe the information day of or day before that, oh, by the way, we're going to spend $1.5 million of this. And when we said we would like to have some input into this, we were put in line as if we, the Orange Board, of the elected members of the town of Orange, the Board of Finance, were treated as if we were just another citizen who wanted to comment. And when I particularly said here's the specific slides, I would like to read them into the record, the answer was no. So, taxpayers of the town of Orange, this is how your Orange Board of Finance was treated last May by the leadership of the Amity Regional School System. So, whatever you as a team, and I'll go along with the team, wish to do regarding whatever this letter's about, because I have not read it yet, I would like that to be known that that's how this board was treated last May.
I think we should maybe take the higher road and read it into the minutes. And I mean, I like Anna and I respect her.
So do I.
I do too.
All right, well then, while I hopefully don't mess this up, I will read this into our minutes. February 5th, 2021. Dear members of the Orange Board of Select and Orange Board of Finance Committees, my name is Anna Mann. I have owned my home in Orange with my husband, Sean, since August of 1999. We have 2 children who have grown up in this town and are currently students in the award-winning Amity Regional School District. As many of you know, Sean and I have both been educators at Amity Regional High School for more than 20 years, and I currently serve as the principal of the high school. I have also been a faithful and loyal citizen of this town and have deep connections to the community. It has pained me year after year to silently witness the way in which the Orange Board of Finance and Board of Select have interfaced with the Amity Regional School District and the Amity Board of Education when it comes to budget discussions and proposals. I've lived through the turmoil of 2002, 17 failed referendums due to issue and threats of young teachers like myself at the time of losing jobs due to reductions in force. That was a traumatizing time. The district learned a great deal, as did the Amity Board of Education members. From that experience, and as any intentional lifelong learners should, have grown from that experience to be fiscally sound while maintaining exceptional services. However, we are re-traumatized every year when members of the Orange Board of Finance make Amity budget presentations, insisting and insinuating that Amity is somehow operating fiscally irresponsible. This could not be further from the truth. One of the unique and wonderful aspects of the Amity system is the loyalty of the educators. Custodians, administrative assistants, para-educators, teachers, and administrators stay in the Amity district despite lower wages than other comparable Connecticut public school districts because the community values education. We have collaborative relationships with parents. We are privileged to work with talented, respectful, dedicated students. It is because of them that we stay. One of the adages I like to use with my faculty, staff, and students is that we are family. We stick together through thick and thin. We do not always agree with one another, but we support each other, and we unfailingly support our students because we believe in our mission. Ours is the most important and impactful career in the world. By continuing to demoralize and undermine the Amity faculty and staff with irresponsible and offensive budgetary suggestions, you are dismantling the school district that you rely on for the future of our community. As I watched the Orange Board of Finance meeting from January 25th, I could not believe what I was hearing. Board members who do not have any formal training in educational programming, let alone regional school district administration or finance, made arbitrary suggestions of a 0.47% increase for the Amity 2021-2022 budget. I respectfully request to know the pedagogical and educational basis for that number. I probably got that word wrong. In addition, members of the board bemoaned an Amity budget increase because of the undue burden it would put on taxpayers. Shockingly, during the same meeting, this very board voted to support the proposal of a $10 million purchase of Racebrook Country Club by the town of Orange. This letter is not a commentary regarding the February 16th referendum for the proposed Racebrook Country Club purchase. However, I am shocked at the discontinuity of the Board of Finance discussions and proposals. It was stated at the January 25th meeting that the citizens of the town of Orange should not be asked to support an increased Amity budget, yet you have no qualms about asking us to spend $10 million on a country club that will remain private and out of reach financially for many of the citizens of Orange in terms of access or use. I have dedicated my professional life to ensuring our children's, your children's, educational experience is the most fulfilling, relevant, and meaningful it can be. The only way for this to remain so is to fund the programming, people, and system. Amity Regional School District is not private. We offer a stellar public education to all students in our community. I can no longer sit silently by and watch as you denigrate the work of my colleagues and take for granted the success of my students with arbitrary and undermining proposals for an Amity budget increase. If you are looking to invest in the future, you need to reflect on your priorities, where your priorities lie. Perhaps you will agree that investing in people will pay dividends. Sincerely, Anna Mann. I'm just going to make a couple of my comments, and anybody else can say anything, and then we'll move on. The part of the 4.47, this board doesn't take anything arbitrary. That number was derived through meetings and over things and based on their budget surpluses. We were not being irresponsible. We are not telling them to, lay off teachers or anything. We've just said that based on your past history, in my opinion, you could all correct me, is you've been running multi-million-dollar surpluses, so the money's already there. That's been our point. It's already there, and you're over budgeting. And then on the Racebrook purchase, unless somebody corrects me here, and I don't blame her. It wasn't 10 million, it's 8.6. Doesn't really matter. But we did not vote as a board to support the purchase of that property, unless there was another meeting I'm not aware of. We had a motion to approve the bond resolution so the Board of Selectmen could hold their meeting, and then if it went forward after the town meeting to the actual vote, everything was in line. But we did not vote to approve that, to support or approve that purchase. So that's just misinformation. And that's scary because, you know, like I said, we all respect Anna, and, you know, she was a great teacher. She's a great principal, but when somebody at her level states something that's factually incorrect, you know, that leads, you know, that gives us undue, you know, people look at us in the wrong light when we did not do what she says we did. And at that, I will stop talking. Anyone else?
I'd like to jump in for a minute, Kev. Along the same lines, you know, I feel like we're vilified all the time. You know, this is our job to oversee the finances for the town of Orange and how the money's spent. And it's continuously brought to us that we're picking on the Board of Eds and Education. This is the budget. Everybody gets a copy of it. It's online once it's approved. We allocate, well, right now, it's 62.43% of our overall budget to education. 62.43%. I don't know how anybody could look at that percentage relative to the overall budget and not look at us taking education extremely seriously. By comparison, we allocate 7.28% to our police department. $7.28 for the people that protect us.
And to your point, they're more than a police department because they're our first responders.
Absolutely. So, you know, we continuously are vilified for you know, asking people to reduce their budgets, but we still are going to be somewhere around 62% of our overall budget being allocated towards education. So all the 4 people watching, I want you to know that we spend a lot of money on education, most of our budget by a landslide. No budget, no department, as far as I can remember, exceeds 10%. And here we are with 62% of our budget going towards education.
And in reality, PJ, it's more than that, because what we've done over the years is
building maintenance. Yeah, sure.
We have bonding, which the town pays for the buildings. We pulled things out of the orange budget and paid for them through the capital fund, so it's not even in their budget, even though there are 4 items, you know, for the schools. So your number's good, but in reality, that number is higher than that.
I think our town medical, we have the Orange Board of Education, Kev. I think, correct me, John, Kevin, anybody, if I'm wrong, that some of the costs of the medical for the Orange BOE is in the town side, John? Am I wrong on that?
No, it's not in the town. The town and the Board of Education have a health fund that they share together, and our costs are go into that fund.
And you split it.
Right,
Okay.
and it's paid out of the fund. Our line item in each of our budgets go into that fund, and then the costs are paid out of it. But Kevin Coulihan is right, though. In our bonding is money for the Orange Board of Education also. So it is more than the percentage that we show in the operating budget.
And I think we need to make it clear that we're not telling them how to spend the money. We're not dictating anything in terms of the budget lines. We're just saying, as anybody who owns a home or makes a salary does, this is the amount of money you have, spend it wisely. And, you know, I think it's disingenuous, I think, to turn around and say to a body that is working very hard to make sure that this town thrives to come down upon us, and I personally take offense at it.
Joe?
Well, thank you, Dr. Mann, for your comments. Obviously, this is not an arbitrary number that we came up with. We do work very diligently on this budget. I've been the rep for 12 years now, all of my years as an elected official in the town of Orange. We do take education very seriously, as PJ said, as we have proven. Both of my children were educated with Amity. My son graduated last year, as you know. And my daughter graduated. She's graduating from Bryant. So take it very, very seriously. And our discussions year after year have always revolved around maintaining quality education, not cutting programs and teachers and salaries, and addressing this surplus year after year. So that's been our concern about overtaxing the taxpayers of Orange. But we will never undermine education in this country. It's a serious business. We take it very seriously. We take our roles on the Board of Finance very seriously as elected officials and volunteer. We volunteer our time very seriously. And education is at the top of our agendas at all times. So we definitely take offense to what you said on that. But in the meantime, we are a very serious board. And I think we have the support of our taxpayers as well. But we will continue to work on these budgets and do the best we can for the residents of Orange and the Amity school system in general.
Kevin?
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, I think what everybody has already said is really kind of hit on what I was pointing at. And in my term on the board, we have never said that teachers had to be eliminated. I'm not sure where that all comes from. I don't know whether that's stirred up, where that kettle is stirred up from. But we have made suggestions dollar-wise, but not personnel. It's like, here's your pot of money, and you figure out how to make it work. They mentioned the crisis we had in 2002. Well, that was caused by the AMI administration, not the teachers, but by the administration, because we had a $2 million problem, which the towns responded to and covered that. And they said, well, the Board of Education learned a lesson. I don't think there's anybody on the current Board of Education at Amity that was there in 2002. So, some of the facts are a little cloudy here. So I think the people should understand that we have always been responsive to that. And there was a gentleman who was the chairman when I got on, Tony Nastri, Lord, rest his soul. He always said that, we'll have budgets, but if there's a problem with the education, whether from special education or whatever it is, we would find a way to cover it. And I think that's been kind of our mantra all the way through this. So that's it from me on this whole thing.
I'm going to jump in real quick after Kevin's comments, because Anthony, I've been on this board, I think it's going on 23 years or 22. And Anthony started that with, if you need us, we're here. Mike Amato was the chairman, same thing. Kevin McNabola, myself, and I'll just point out to several years ago when the Orange Board of Education came to us and there was a possible influx of students. I don't remember if it was from Avalon or where it was from. And we told them, well, assume it's not going to happen, because they were projecting, and we didn't want to pass a budget to the town and overtax the town because of something might happen. Well, that summer it did happen, and this board, and I believe it was Joe was here, Jim was here, PJ, I honestly don't remember if you were here, Kevin was here. They came in, and I believe it was Mike Nass was the acting superintendent, and And in their original budget, they had requested 4 teachers. And we said, no, because you might not need them. Well, when they came in the summer, they needed 6, and we gave it to them. So to say that any of us, through our history, are anti-education is crazy, because couldn't be farther from the truth. I'll leave it at that. So then we'll go to Amity update with Joe. Sorry, Joe.
I would like to
Oh, Jim.
comment.
Mhm.
Two issues. 2 statements. Fiscally irresponsible. I don't know where that statement came from. Over budgeting. They are not the same thing. John Scarelli, what exactly did we do, for those who might be watching tonight that might not know that we had a meeting on January 25th? What did this board do on January 25th as it relates to the Racebrook Country Club? Could you just make a statement about what this board did?
Yeah, I believe Kevin already covered it. You didn't endorse Racebrook Country Club. The only thing you did was pass the resolution that told the Board of Selectmen that the town has the ability to bond for the purchase of the property if the residents so choose. There were, and I believe I said that a number of times at that meeting and made that clear.
Okay. I would like to respond to another thing that I think I heard in the letter, and I'm trying not to get into let's analyze the letter and, oh, you said these 3 things, but they're really that. I like Anna. I think Anna knows, because her husband, Sean, since she mentioned him in the letter, has been a track coach at Amity for a long time. And that I have supported the track team to the tune of thousands of dollars a year out of my own take-home pay. And they know that. They also know that before I went to business school, I taught math in secondary school for 6 years. I was the president-elect of the Teachers Association in Weston, Massachusetts in the mid-'70s. And I was a very accomplished teacher who, by the way, never went home even close to near 3:30 in the afternoon. Just saying. John, where did this letter go besides sending it to the Board of Finance? And I believe it went to the Board of Selectmen.
I don't know. I didn't receive it. It was passed to me for the meeting tonight through the administrative assistant of the first selectman.
Okay.
I didn't even get a copy of it. That was how I got my copy that went to you.
Well, my teammates here on the Orange Board of Finance, there's an item, John, Kevin, on the agenda tonight, which will cover peripherally but directly some of the math behind what I heard in Anna's letter. And I will just present it at that point in time in the Vice Chairman's report section.
It's going to be a little abbreviated, right?
Say what?
It's going to be somewhat abbreviated.
Oh, yeah. I only made 3 points in both the letter and the, yeah.
Okay. Good.
Correct.
All right, Joe. And I'll just make one comment because, and I don't want to keep going on because it'd be a long night. But we've never accused them of being fiscally irresponsible, because I think they're very responsible. And Terry and Jack Levine before her Because otherwise, if this was, let's call a spade, if this was New Haven or one of the other school districts, there wouldn't be a surplus. They find a way to spend the money without anybody knowing it. They do a great job up there looking and saving money. It's just they have these huge surpluses every year. Never accuse them of being irresponsible on the spending side. It's on the budgeting side they over budget. But now, Joe, is there anything to report on the Amity update? You said earlier that you have a meeting in the same night as the Orange Board of Education. Has there been anything since?
Nothing really new. I think we've seen that they've reduced the budget a little bit. I don't think you're going to get down to our 0.47 like we would like to see. So unfortunately, when the vote comes up, I will be voting no. So I don't think there are any additional cuts planned for the budget. But again, we're meeting on Monday, Monday the 8th, 2 weeks, to see if there are any further cuts. But as of right now, I haven't heard much happening. I haven't heard much from the Amity Board of Ed either on their stand on the budget and what their thoughts are. So I'm not sure. But nothing really new to report at this point. I can report to us after that, on the 8th, after our AFC meeting at our Board of Finance, for if you'd like to do an update at that point. If you'd like to, it's up to us and whatever you want to put on the agenda.
Yeah, no, we'll have that there, because when the superintendent left our meeting and it had come down to, I believe it was 3.72 was the last number from the 4 and from the 7. But she said she had other possible cuts that she was going to present to the board. We don't know what happened with that, or we don't know what those were.
Kevin, I know what happened. They were presented to the board, and the board some members of the board had a problem with it, and they weren't passed. But they didn't vote on the budget either. So it's still kind of up in the air, I guess.
Okay.
Kevin, before we go on, I think for the benefit of our audience, and you figure out the worthiness of this comment and where, if it is worthy, where best to fit it into the mix. I'm not sure people understand what exactly happened in 2002, or back as Kevin Moffett mentioned, the $2 million hole. And, you know, we got an awful lot of new people in town. That event led to the creation of the Amity Finance Committee. The Amity Finance Committee has performed a great role and continues to perform a great role. But they're basically the Amity administration way back 20 years ago. My short version of the story is that they all of a sudden found out that they were $2 million short. How that could ever happen, one could say, what? Yeah. So, and that was 20 years ago, so when the budget wasn't as obviously large as it is now. And that led for the need for the towns to come up with $2 million, which led to the current budget soon thereafter to be rejected 18 times. 18, right? Am I got that number right, Kevin Moffett?
I believe so, yeah, 17 or 18.
Okay. It was a state record.
And then they created the Amity Finance Committee. So, you know, it's kind of like one of these things. This will never happen again. All right? And have the towns have a member on the Amity Finance Committee, of which all of the 3 towns now do. Joe is our member, as he articulated. So that's what happened back then, that financial controls were a big time problem. And there was a need for $2 million, a significant component, all right, that the towns had to come up with, and the Amity Finance Committee and a lot of other things, 18 times you go and vote it down, there's a residual effect, but a lot of people still in town remember that. And some people in town who maybe knew didn't even know that this happened. So I just wanted to be sure, Kevin Houlihan, in your chairman's role, that we make sure everybody kind of knows whatever we can get to them about how this, what did happen 20 years ago.
Okay. We'll come up with something. I remember that because I was the first member of the finance committee from Orange, and that was not a fun time. Okay, so now we will go on to item number 11, Vice Chairman's report. Jim.
Okay,
You have 2 minutes. Yeah.
I'm out of town. I'll share my screen and I'll just get through it. My understanding is the date of that letter was February 5th. This is going to be presenting information in this form about an article I wrote that was published on February 12th and a letter to the editor that I wrote briefly because there was information that I don't think was 100% right. So Kevin, to your point, let's just get started. The title of the article was entitled "Amity Over Budgeting Significantly Increases Taxes, Surplus Reflect Overcharging." It's been in the Orangetown News. There were 4 points I made in the article. I think all of you are aware of it. Spending drives taxes. Amity surpluses are raising your taxes. OBOF, us, our position on the Amity budgets in our current situation, okay? We use this chart a lot of what happens when you have 4% increase a year and versus a 1% increase a year. And I want to make sure every taxpayer in Orange understands the value of striving for spending as low as you can, just like you do at home. If you have $7,000 in taxes annually, at 4% per year, you would, over that 10-year period, be spending $94,000 404. If you add 1% increase a year, household number 2, I called it, would pay $80,968, which
Jim,
is.
Jim, could I hold you up a second?
Sure.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Were you sharing something or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because nothing's on the screen it's just all of us unless, so I wanted to catch you if you were talking to a slide.
Well, then.
It didn't share.
Another operator error in my book.
Now we're good.
So this is, thank you, Kevin.
Sorry, Jim.
Move people and you know how it is when you're sharing it, it gets a little funky. Okay. I'll tell you what's getting funky is my my machine here. Let me try something else, Kev, see if it works. Okay. So here's what I was talking to when I said we had the article. There's the title of the thing. It was in the town paper. You've already got it at home. All of you have seen it because I sent it to you. All of you, Board of Finance. So there's the 4 major points. Surprise, spending drives taxes. But it may come as a surprise to you that the surpluses are definitely raising your taxes, and that's one of the main points we've been trying to make. We're trying to explain our position and are explaining our position on Amity budgets in detail and our current situation. So here's the first point. This was the $7,000 thing and the visual, as you can see, what would happen over 4% per year over a 10-year period. All right, you'd be, that $100 would be $100 in taxes would be 148. If it was 1%, it would be 110. What does that mean? It means that if you were at 4%, cumulatively, if you started at 7, you would be spending in taxes $94,404. At 1%, you would be spending $80,968, which is $436 less. And what that means is that were you in the number one household or a town that had 1% increases, you would, for almost 2 years, you would be paying no taxes out of that 10-year period. So in my mind, and what I wrote in the article, is that a highly tangible objective to strive for. Doesn't mean you put the kids to bed tonight without food. It means it's a tangible objective to strive for. It doesn't mean we don't want to invest in people. It doesn't mean we think Amity's being fiscally irresponsible. What are these surpluses? Well, I've done the legwork. Here it is. Over the last 15 years, we have averaged $1.5 million in surplus per year. You can see the graph. You can answer for yourselves whether this is a trend that's been increasing recently. And in the last 4 years, Amity has averaged $2.6 million. We pay 50%, so that's 1.3. That number's going to come back. And the aggregate of those last 4 years is over $10 million in surplus. So we're grabbing money in, and what we're basically taxing people for is what ends up being a surplus. My conclusion is that surpluses is an unnecessary tax burden to every taxpayer of Orange and the member towns, whether you have kids in the school system or not. That's the second point I made in the article. Now, our position in the Amity budgets, and you're going to hear a lot about this, so if it wears you out, okay. But the details are important. The devil's in the details. We hear a lot about how it's real low the last 4 years. In fact, I've seen presentations recently from leadership, how low the increases have been. Look at those blue lines in the last 4 years. Right there, very small. That's a budget-to-budget look at the budget. When you look actuals to budget, what you actually spent in a year versus the budget you're looking for the next year, you see a quite different story. Look at those numbers. Very high. And in fact, on average, if you can see 1.6 and 5.6, the actuals to budget is 3.5 times the budget to budget line. And as Kevin Moffitt said, budgets should be made based on actuals because, as you can see by the surpluses, the prior year's budget is inflated to begin with. Now, this is the current situation. This is a slide we've seen before. And this is just an example of what a difference it makes. If you look closely, this is last year, but it's the same concept. We get told we just have a 2.48% increase, which is only $1.2 million. But because we have a surplus of almost $3.5 million, the actual percentage increase is 10.1 something. And I apologize, Kevin Houlihan, but I put Kevin Moffitt's name in the bottom of this, so I'm going to change that right now.
We both probably said it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. No, it's Kevin Moffitt. So Kevin Moffitt, I apologize. Okay. So That's an important thing for us to think about. People run businesses, people run their own homes. You know this intuitively. Now, in terms of the current situation, what was actually spent in 1920 was 46 million, given some change. The budget for the following year was 50,784,509. So the difference is 4 million, and there's the number, which, as I said, was a 10% increase. And I thought that was a good to go 3.72, Kevin. So I'm getting some new information. But this is what we said we would support, was this 0.47. And what's important is the impact that these budgets have on the taxes. It's going to be increasing by over $700,000 in the next year, even if it was at 3.72. Somebody wants higher, this number's higher. And they gave a 4-year forecast that the taxes in Orange would go up by more, including the one that's on the table, more than $4 million. So the average over those next 4 years was over $1 million.
Jim, can I jump in for a minute?
Please
You
do.
can say that the amount that the board recommended for an increase is more of a compromise because there were several members of our board that wanted a 0% increase.
Some wanted negative, but I didn't factor that into the mathematical equation that we eventually came up with to get that number. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification, PJ. And the continual over budgeting is Kevin Houlihan. Now I got your name right, Kev. This is what you told me. The continual over budgeting at Amity filters down to our town departments and our K-6 Orange Board of Education. In essence, Amity is taking money that only results in surpluses. That's an undeniable fact. Fiscally responsible? We're not investing in people?
No, and Jim, I remember years ago when we had a budget hearing at Peck Place, I think it was then Chairman Keith Marquis from the Orange Board of Ed, gave a speech about just that, because, that's what would happen. If we have a threshold, I'll call it a threshold for pain for what taxpayers can possibly afford on an increase. And when most of the tax dollars are going to one place, then other budgets have, we've lived this, and you have to scale back, and it's harmed the Orange Board of Education. It's harmed our other town departments in the past, and it is a problem.
I also think there might be a little confusion or misinformation regarding the surplus. All of our town departments, if they had a surplus, they're not allowed to just spend it arbitrarily. They can't just spend whatever's left on whatever they want.
No.
And I think maybe people don't realize that with regard to the Amity surplus.
No, and the things, and even if you go back to the surpluses that Jim put up, not to belabor it, but those numbers are actually lower than the actual surpluses in those years, because they chose to spend money, and for the 10th or whatever year in a row, I'll say it, like the Black Box Theater, they spent and did it. It wasn't in the budget. They had extra surplus. So they spent that money. So the actual surplus reported was smaller than it really was. And that's to the point that even the numbers he has there are, the actual surplus was higher because some things were spent on things that were not in the budget in those years, but they were, some wants that they had, and they approved because they have that power.
These blue bars were actually higher than we're seeing here, is what you're saying, Kevin, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so that's what I wrote in the article, team. And then I want to tell you just briefly, listen, I wouldn't have, I sent a letter into the editor because I saw an article that had, I don't want to use the word misinformation in it, so I won't. But there's some stuff in there that was, I had an opinion that needed to be clarified. So here it is. There's the letter. 3 points. Size of the Amity surplus, that was stated in there. The end of the year purchases from surplus, that was in the article. And there's a point of using surplus monies that was stated in the article, not my article, but in the article that I'm responding to, that says it helps taxpayers. And I wanted to comment, and I did. The size of the surplus, this is just a month-to-month chart that we showed back on the 25th. It also shows in the pink on the right, the end of the year surplus, AOY surplus purchases, which was almost $1.5 million, right? And what I wrote in the article was that, oh, it was because of the pandemic. Well, 2 years ago, we had a pandemic, all right? Let's going back to this one, right? You can see we had a $3 million surplus here. It was $2 million over here, 1.7 over here. This isn't recent information. Second point is in the article, it talked about the amount that was stated that was end of year purchases was like, it said in the article, it wasn't said that anybody in Amity said it. I don't know who wrote the article. It said it was like 500,000 or something like that. Well, the end of year purchases was almost $1.5 million. And this is what we showed at the January 25th meeting. I showed it. It's my chart, right? But I work with other people on this committee to create this material.
No, and Jim, that's your chart, but that came from their information that they sent us. You didn't make that up. That came from their document.
Correct, Kevin. Thank you for the clarification. The EOY purchases box is their chart. My chart is the box around it that says, you know, purchases, meaning it's not planned in the budget. There were 10 categories, you know, and you know, you have to add that in to get back to the real surplus, as you mentioned, and that the prior chart showed. All right. And that what we said last time, of course, is that last year's fiscal year budget did not go to referendum due to the pandemic. So there was something in the article that was written on January, in January, the Orangetown News that I was responding to, that said, oh no, it wasn't 500,000, it was triple that. Again, if you want to go back and read the article, it's right there. There's the link. All right, you can go online, Orangetown News is sitting right there. Final point. There is a quote from Superintendent Byers that says that surpluses help taxpayers. And we can talk about it. What it said was having surpluses helps taxpayers as improvements can be paid without the need to take out bonds or pay interest on those bonds. I have a problem with that. My position is having surpluses in budgets overtaxed residents right in the immediate year in which that is happening. And when you look at the amount, remember earlier, we added it up and we said, hey, 2.6 million on average, right? Per year, over budgeted, last 4 years, each year, on average, 2.6. That means Orange gets 1.3. It's going to surplus, so you're paying taxes for stuff that you didn't need. And so I don't think, I would argue that surplus spending hurts taxpayers. So everybody can have their own opinions. So, Mr. Chairman, what I wanted to do was go through, and team, was go through with you the article I wrote, the points I made, and I wanted to share it with anybody watching on OGAT, using data of what the surpluses are, and as Kevin has mentioned, those blue ones might have been higher. And it isn't like, you know, if there was a $500,000 surplus, we'd even be having this conversation.
Correct.
And the fundamental thing to understand, and there's very smart people I've heard came up to me and said, Jim, wow, they're doing it with 1%. It's magic over there. It's not the way to look at it. You have to look at what you actually are spending in a year towards your budget. And as you can see, it's significantly higher. And so when you come in with a 4% increase in blue for next year, and we can get into details. We can talk about how much money is in medical reserve. We can talk about how much money, $500,000 to $600,000 already, all right, is under budget in the same medical and dental account. We can talk about staff that needed to be added on back when these are administrative staff in the guidance area, for example, is one, all right, which was added, and then we've come down 300 students. Nothing has changed there. So there's a lot of potential opportunity, some may think, rather than, oh, we have this new special ed situation, and so therefore we have to continue to add and add and add. All of this data, when I see that somebody has said something about fiscally irresponsible or not interested in people, and since I do a lot of this and have done it for the last 15 years, 16, I guess, looking at, and I don't look at Amity this way, I look at everybody this way. And that's all I want to say. I wanted to share more background, visuals. I'm grateful for Rocky to put them in the paper and highlighting the visuals. And I wanted to clarify where we stand right now. Because the impact on town taxes, if this continues, is amazingly significant. Peace.
Thank you, Jim. And spending surplus money on long-term assets doesn't save taxpayers money, because the current taxpayers at whatever age group are paying 100% of those things that on major improvements or roofs and things that should be bonded should be spread out over 15 years, not paid in one. You match the asset life with the, that's why we have mortgages. That's why we have other things, because you try to match the useful life of the asset with the cost. But anyway, we'll move on. Item number 12.
Let me unshare, Kevin. There we go. Thank you.
Okay. Item number 12, discussion and approval of minutes from January 25th, 2021 regular meeting. I'll start with John.
Bat and lead off.
Okay, I don't have too many. First page, though, up at the top where it says Monday, February 25th, it should say Monday, January 25th.
Kevin, I'll go back to sharing the screen so that people at home can see this stuff as well.
Oh,
John, you must have a different set.
I must have a different copy. So
I'm looking at it, like, mine says January.
I don't know how that happened, that I had a different copy, but we'll let that go.
First off the press.
Okay, then on page 3, under item 5, our total transfer there was $5,500, but that sentence doesn't make sense. And I'm not sure how to rewrite it. It was, I think, 2 items that totaled $5,500.
How about this, John? How about we just take out sentence 2 and just say, the total cost of repair would be $5,500.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Because I'm pretty sure Deb probably just picked it up from Donnie's memo.
Yeah,
And
that's good. That sounds good. Let's just put the total cost would be 5,500 and strike the
bless.
rest of it. Just leave the part in, Deb, that says where the funds are coming from.
the third sentence, yeah.
Yeah. And then Kevin Houlihan, I think you got to help me with this one. On number 6, I think you said that, not me.
Where are we on number 6, John? The first bullet?
The very first sentence there,
Thank you.
second
The
sentence
3-month
there.
payment plan?
Yeah. I thought you said that.
I may have. I know it's been a point of discussion over the months, but
Hey, I don't really, it doesn't really matter to me, but I thought you said it.
me either. I might have said it, so we could change it.
Okay. And then the only other couple of things I had was on page 4.
Hey, John,
Yeah.
before we go off that, is it true that second sentence? Third
No.
sentence, he also noted that taxes can be paid online with a 2% conveyance fee?
No, that should be $2 fee
conveyance fee.
if you're paying by check.
Check. That's what I did. I paid by check and it cost me $2.
Right.
Okay, so someone, John, give us a read on sentence 3 for Deb so she can make the edit.
Okay. He also noted that taxes can be paid online with an e-check for a $2 fee.
Very good.
Short and simple there. And then on page 4, the last bullet, where it starts with me, I think that again with you, Kevin. And then when it's the next sentence where it says he reported, I think that one should say me.
So we should start the sentence with Mr. Houlihan,
Right there, yeah.
and then the he is replaced by Mr. Cifarelli.
Mr. Cifarelli.
Thank you.
And that's all I really had.
I'm good.
I have a couple of just wording things that trouble me. In the paragraph 2 on the Amity budget,
What number are we at, Pat?
yeah, back on page 1, the, I don't know, third sentence, she noted that special education continues to be a budget driver. The new court ruling has extended the age of servicing. I have trouble with that word. Let's call it educating. Because I think they do more than just servicing.
Okay, so how about this, Pat? A new court ruling has extended the age of educating students in the program. And let's go.
Right, and then the same thing is true in the next bullet. Amity is attempting to service some of the students. Again, I would say educate.
Okay, thank you.
Those of us from the Bronx have a different connotation for servicing.
Understood.
I have one. Under section 2, page 2, kind of in the middle, the Board of Finance members reminded Dr. Byers, the third sentence, the Board of Finance members felt that this 30% funding, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't, so we met with a professional, a person that specializes in municipal medical insurance, and it was his opinion that the 30% funding is higher than needed. So I would say some members of the Board of Finance
Met with,
An outside consultant?
Mhm.
specializing in municipal medical insurance that felt that the 30% funding is higher than needed.
now, is that what we said, or did we say, I know that I said that he said. that we
That's
should be between
absolutely,
15 and- He said it should be between 15 and 20, and I said it.
right,
It's not a small amount of money is what we're talking about here.
correct.
Because the new budget for ambulance, for example, is 25% funding. All right. But each 5% funding is, you know, at 10% funding, there's $500,000 right there.
Right. I have another one. It's really more of a question. We get to the vote right above 4.
Let me get down there, PJ. Thank you.
Couldn't we just say it was unanimous? Or did we have to go, all of us? Saying
No, we had to do a roll call.
Yeah, we did
Okay.
a roll call.
Oh, okay. I see.
was it?
Got rid of it.
Sound like a bunch of pirates.
Who's got the dog?
Mine's gonna bark in a minute, so.
He
Anything
apparently
else?
I haven't seen Deb's cat in a while, but Deb's cat was behind her on the couch earlier. It was great.
I think my dog's gonna be a lot louder than that one.
Deb's cat was holding the pen for a while too.
PJ, you got any more?
I don't think so, Jim.
Okay, Pat? Joe?
No more. No.
Kev?
Good.
I'm good.
Okay.
So is there a motion to approve as amended?
So move.
Okay,
Second.
hold on, Kev.
I'll second it if it hasn't already gone through.
Under the discussion of under 3, the first bullet, Finance Director John Cifarelli explained this discussion has nothing to do with the vote to either buy or decline the purchase.
Correct.
Yes.
That's what happened.
How about if it was more,
Well, I think the second sentence is wrong. It says that the town has the ability to pay.
right, and I think the first sentence should be the Board of explain the discussion doesn't have anything to do with the opinions of the Board of Finance to buy or decline the purchase.
Well,
I mean, because it does have something to do with the purchase of
It had to do with the purchase, but it had nothing to do with the vote. Like,
Right.
we did not approve it. We didn't take a side.
how about then with the town referendum instead of vote?
okay. You good one? Kevin,
Yeah,
you good with
I
that?
don't have a problem with that.
Let's work on the second sentence, team. Rather, it has to do, well, it expresses the opinion that the town has the ability to pay for the property should resident. How about this? Rather, it expresses the opinion, if that's the right verbiage. I'll give you a V1 anyway. But we have to do. It's not giving the town the ability to pay. That's not what we were doing.
No, it was. We gave,
Really?
by signing that resolution,
I thought we were saying we had the ability to pay, Kevin.
we had the, or maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but it gave them the right to go out and pay for it should the town voted for it because we approved, I signed that bond resolution.
Right.
How about if we included based on Connecticut state statutes, which is what, allows us to bond up to certain criteria? So, based on Connecticut state statutes,
John, you've touched this more than the rest of us, I think. Not that it makes you-
it shows the town has the ability to pay for the property.
That's what I thought we were doing.
You everything you've said so far, I don't have a problem with. Put it that way. It's how wordy you want to get with it. Everything you do here is kind of according to state statute or town charter. So,
Well, how would you, John, is there anything in that second sentence that feels very wrong to you?
no, I thought the way you were going to change it was pretty good, actually. Your first edit there. Rather, it was how did you say? Rather, it has to do with
It was your opinion. It was the opinion.
that the town has the ability to pay.
Okay, so so the words ability to pay to the end of the sentence is a wrap, I think. So we just have to go from the word rather to get to that section there.
Yeah.
I think this is an important one. I don't want to nitpick it, but you know.
Right, Jim.
Glad you brought it up.
Because and good job, PJ, because this is where we were accused of doing something we didn't do.
Yeah.
So how about rather, based on the Connecticut state bonding statutes, the town has.
I'm not sure.
I don't think you need that, PJ. All we did is look at what we had for how much money we owe, right? And how much extra we could, right? And we said, oh yes, we could do that if everybody wishes to do that in the referendum. I think
Why
that
don't we say something like, rather, it allowed us to vote on the referendum that blah, blah, blah. Because that's essentially what we did. We didn't give the town.
That's correct.
Well, I'm not sure about that. Because if you didn't give them the right to bond it,
Well,
they could have found other means to pay for it if they wanted to.
Right.
I think you're overanalyzing this. Yeah. I mean, I think the important thing is you had to pass the resolution. What I said was in there that it doesn't pass whether your opinion on whether buy it or not buy it. He gave. I wouldn't change it all that much. Remember, again, it's what you did that night and what you said that night.
Correct.
Okay, John, how about this? I'm going to read to you that second sentence and see if we can get a closure or at least I would take out the 6 words after rather. Okay? It has to do with giving. Take all that out. Rather, the town has the ability to pay for the property should residents vote in favor of the purchase. Okay?
Sounds good to me.
Team?
I agree.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Along with that edit on the first paragraph also.
Yeah.
Correct.
Poor Deb's head's got to be spinning.
The cat's taking notes right now.
Deb, do you have it?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Final call for edits on anything on this document?
Okay, then once again, is there a motion to approve as amended?
So move.
Second.
Second by who?
Me.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, unanimous? Great. Okay, item 13, to review revenue and expense reports for 1/31/2021. Now I'll kick it over to John if there's anything we should be concerned with before anybody else has any questions.
Start with revenue.
I'm going to stop sharing for a minute, guys.
I think if we go to revenue and we look at the tax collection, I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah.
I think we could have been in a lot worse shape. So we may end up down in a few other areas, but if we could get close to 100% on the tax collection, we're going to be fine. I mean, with the extra money that got kicked in from Amity and all, we could be down a little bit on building, on permits and stuff, and we're certainly going to be down on Park and Rec on their revenue collection because the pool, they're not taking membership for the pool. I think it's if you go in, you pay $3 and swim, and some of their other programs that they haven't been able to do for the year. I think that's pretty, the library, the same thing. I don't think we're going to get all the fees that we've generated in the past over there. They're only open about 4 hours a day. And I think that's really it on the revenue.
Yeah, I agree. Granted, we're going to have shortfalls, but when we went into this last year and people said use fund balance, and we said we really don't know how much of it we're going to use because we're going to have to cover things. It's sad that, like we just went through the minutes where there's a record number of people on 3-month payment plans. And luckily the state is not charging them a statutory 18% rate, interest rate, so that could be waived. But I think we're pretty lucky compared to some other towns.
I would agree with that. Okay, if there's no other questions on the revenue, we could go to the expense side, and I don't really have anything. We're gonna be over in a few areas, and it's gonna be because of the COVID. But I think even on the expense side, we'll probably show a surplus at the end of the year, from what I'm seeing. I don't have anything in particular to call out. If anybody has anything, I'll be glad to answer your questions.
Well, I had nothing to do this afternoon, so I went through and highlighted what was over and what was under and what was significant. And my reason for doing that is the same reason, and we kind of talked about this in the budgeting part, is if departments are consistently underspending, shouldn't we look to having not the same as last year, but less than last year in the budgets? And is there a way, John, you probably do this just in your head, but is there a way that when we get to the final numbers on the budget, we take a closer look at who doesn't need everything that they got?
We do look at that, and if it's significant, we usually do knock them down a little bit. I just caution you on some of them, like car allowance and car travel this year, in training and memberships because of the COVID. Nobody's going anyplace. A lot of our training, for instance, Audrey and I in art, we usually go to 2 seminars a year that are on pension and other finances to do with the town. We haven't gone now. We've missed 2 meetings last year, and they've called off the first 2 on this year because of the COVID. So certain accounts are being affected by it, and some aren't. But we do take a look at that.
Right.
We look back at in your book, you see the 2 years of what the final expenses were. If you want to go through some of them now, we could go through them.
No, believe me, you don't want to go through with me, but
Right. You could call me and we could
I
go.
can call you and we
if
can,
want.
yeah, we can go over them. You know, some of them, what I tried to do was look either at, or to highlight either significant numbers or what I would consider a major change or something.
Yeah. What I did notice going through it, and I'm working through some of the errors, with the new payroll, some of the people aren't being charged to the correct accounts right now. So you're gonna see some of the payroll accounts, like the police, the patrol accounts gonna be over for the year, but the detective division, investigative services or supervisors, I forget which one, is going to be way under. It's because the right people aren't being charged in the right places, and we're working on correcting some of those. It's just minor things we have with the new system that we got to get on top of.
Right. Some of them look just way out and
some of the
there, yeah,
some of the other people that get automatic car allowance, like the assessor and the planning and zoning official, their car allowances, instead of going to a car allowance line, are going to their salary lines. So there's little glitches like that, but we'll get them right.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go back over and just let you know what
call me and we could go over them together.
Okay. And maybe I need to not have an afternoon where I have nothing to do.
Anybody else?
By the way, Pat, that will not be unused, what's the right word? A wasted effort, because when we start looking at other opportunities in the future, in the future of this budgeting process, your work that you've just described, which we've all done before, was highly useful. So thank you for your effort there.
It kept me out of the snow.
By the way, Anne Maria sent us the document that she was responding about earlier.
Okay.
Another spot, Pat, where there's a problem in the police investigative services. All of a sudden, a new overtime account popped up. And that shouldn't be there. Overtime is just in one line item in the uniform patrol. So that's the error.
Yeah.
All right, before we move on to the next thing, I just wanted to take 2 seconds. I don't know, John, if this came from you or if I downloaded this from a state website, the municipal aid. And the federal stimulus money that's going to towns, I can forward this if people don't have it. Again, it's like ECS with Orange. Just to point things out, I have problems with how we're treated.
Yeah.
My partners from Clinton, they're getting $369,000. They're about the same size of Orange. Derby's getting $839,000. Greenwich is getting 1.9 million. New Haven's
we're gonna owe money.
New Haven's almost 19 million. The town of Orange, we're getting $82,000.
Yeah.
West Haven's getting 4.5 million. Woodbridge is getting 101,000. They're getting $20,000 more than we are. I don't know how this works, but it just seems we know, is it like the old adage, we screw up by being good?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I really don't have an answer, but it's like, we do the right thing. We're not a town. We're not Hamden that rebuilt a brand new town hall, and all of a sudden they have deficits, and we try to do the right thing and spend the money in the right places, and then we get penalized for it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But
Kevin, I don't think the town is getting that money either. I think that's going directly to the Board of Education.
the 82,000.
Yes. There was a lot after that document came out. There were a lot of questions on what that was, and I believe the answer was it's some kind of care money that's being distributed to the Board of Educations.
And Greenwich got 1.9 million?
Yes,
Okay.
that's where the governor's from, by the way.
Well, I was kind of going a roundabout way, but I was going to say that money came from the federal to the state, and the state had to decide how to take that pie and divvy it up into pieces.
That's correct.
And Greenwich got what million?
It was 1,894,000, so it's basically 1.9 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we know what the numbers were based on?
I honestly don't. I just have the document that I'd be happy to send to everybody, but I don't.
The
I think I saw it
criteria
in
of
the
that. That's an
paper.
excellent question.
Pat, if you want to talk about an arbitrary process, I'm sure that was one.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
The dark
And,
game.
and another one is
If you Google that, that's what will come up.
Yeah.
Bethany only got 64,998, so they're kind of like us. But Ansonia, and I know Ansonia has issues, and they're a great neighbor, but they got 1.756 million. I don't know what they based it on, but that, some of these places, that's an awful lot of money, and we get $82,000.
Yeah.
They looked at our fund balance, Kev.
Yeah. It's not right. Like I said, we do the right thing.
We
and
do a
try
good
to-
job. That's why.
Right.
And you get penalized. You seem to get rewarded for misbehavior.
Yeah.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Kevin, that doesn't even cover your salary.
Just in case someone is watching,
Kidding.
of the Board of Finance are unpaid.
Right.
So when Pat does an afternoon, snow or not,
Right.
she is not, picking up a paycheck.
For
Right.
that, they have to
Right.
put up with our bad
Why not?
jokes.
Yeah.
All right, are we at number 16 yet?
No, we're at number 14.
No, we're not.
Old business. To
Nobody here.
review
Yeah,
detailed
yeah.
cost of tropical storm. I can't even pronounce this.
Isaiah's.
Isaiah.
I think it went up a little bit last month since I gave this to you. I think.
John, you don't have to work the issue here. All we're saying is that we still have to do that.
Yeah, well, I'll give you a little update. Bob Britton is going to do the application along with some help from a few of us here because it's a little technical on the roads and everything. And we all had a Zoom meeting on Wednesday and Thursday last week with the state. And some of these things we may get paid for, some of these things we may not get paid for. I believe the reimbursements at 75% of cost. One of the things we did find out was in the past, when you had a FEMA application, it was only for overtime of your workers, and they're going to allow us to bill straight time also. So that's gonna increase our application a little bit more.
Good.
So that's kind of a good thing.
Good.
Whether we get it or not, because with the COVID, it seems like every time we put in something, they find a reason to kick it out for some reason. So we'll see down the road.
Well, they're giving the money to Greenwich.
Bro, I was going to ask the question, John Cifarelli, does that go through Hartford for decision-making or is it federal?
I think your application goes to the federal government. They approve the number, they send it to Hartford, and then Hartford distributes it. But once they approve the number, you get that number. It's not
Oh,
something
Hartford,
that,
yeah,
that
so they're
Hartford
just a
told back.
pass-through, yeah. Okay.
Right. And also going back to what we spoke for before, we did get $97,000 from Hartford back in December for COVID relief funds that had not been spent on other areas. So they did give, not a lot, but they gave us something.
All good?
So that's all I have here, unless anybody has any questions.
No, this is just a future, that's good.
All right, so item 15, set up meeting with pension board in Milliman to discuss pension plan.
Okay. My pension committee had a meeting last Thursday. I brought them the idea of having a joint meeting on May 17th, like was suggested by your group last meeting in January. They're all available. The two consultants are available. And the thought was they'd have a joint meeting with you. The consultant would give her a little presentation on the health of the two plans. And then they would adjourn to have their regular May meeting, and you could have your regular May meeting. And I'll jump between the two.
Thank you, John. Could you ask them to send all the material prior to the meeting, please?
Yes. I will do that.
Hey, Kev, before we jump to, if I could glom on here, because I think this is going to be the only time that we can do it. I'm going to fire up what you guys have gotten in the past. Tell me if you can see my screen.
I can see it this time, Jim.
Good. I can actually hit the share button. So it sounds like what we took a fair amount of time, but calendar planning, that's one of the 10 basics, right? And look at that. So we had a meeting tonight that we had OEDC. We had our regular meeting. We talked about the town budget. Those are the three circles and the colors with the legend off to the right. I think we're talking about on March 8th, is it, Kang? We're going to have the Orange Board of Education as well as other stuff, which we will call having to do with the town budget. And Joe, I believe that's also a night, as you mentioned, that you have an AFC meeting. Will we be having on the 15th? And I think that's a bad day for you, Kevin.
What date's that?
The 15th of March.
Yeah, that's a horrible day.
So we might want to rethink that at.
We don't know. Our government might smarten up, because the reality of what's going on now is, people who took the CARES Act, pension distributions, early withdrawals that they could spread over 3 years, not pay penalty. They're not ready for any of those filings. The IRS is not ready. There's a whole bunch of other stuff going on, yet they're still holding solid right now to a April 15th deadline. Because of what happened in Texas the last few days, anybody who lives in Texas, business, partnerships, and individual tax returns have all been extended to June 15th from March and April. And hopefully they do that here, because they're just not ready. It's a nightmare. But March 15th is a deadline as of now.
Okay.
So you heard my tale of woe,
In terms of things, we still see that we have to have in green by the end of March, a budget finish. We may not know the dates or how many, but at this moment in time, our next meeting is on March 8th. We have the Orange Board of Education and other stuff. Joe, you have the Amity meeting that night. And we don't need to do anything more with the calendar now. I'm asking this as an open question.
My thing would be the 15th still might work, because everything will hopefully be caught up by the weekend and extend. And, I hate to leave it to me. So if the 15th is not good, if everybody could just look at their calendar for the 16th, where PJ's out partying on the 17th, so we can't do that day.
No one else on this team is doing that on the 17th, though.
It's one of the high holidays. Come on.
Kevin Moffett, you're our man. Is March
Listen, I'll say you guys can meet on the 17th if you want. That's great for me.
Have a nice time.
I just won't be here.
Is March Madness starting on the 18th, or if they do it?
If they do it, yes.
Thank you. Okay, so no changes for our calendar or calendar planning. I just wanted to get it in before you pushed it over to the next item, Kev. So thank you.
No, I think that's good, Jim.
When is Amity's budget going to be finalized?
What's that?
When is Amity's budget going to be finalized?
I don't know. Joe, do you know?
Jim, could you bring the calendar back up?
What's the date on there? We have a meeting on, or actually, as a matter of fact, we have a meeting on the 24th, this Wednesday. It's a special meeting, Amity Finance. Let me see something.
Joe, you gotta let us know these
That's
things.
not on your calendar, Jim. That's a
I
violation.
know, it's on the
Violation.
calendar, so it doesn't, Joe, it wasn't happening until we get it on the calendar. That's one of the rules. That's one of the rules if you're over at Sikorsky, my man.
It's a violation. 24th, Amity
It ain't on the
Finance
calendar,
Committee,
it really isn't happening.
special meeting. So I'm sure we'll have an update on the 24th. I forgot about that meeting actually, because that's not normal, but we do have a meeting on the 24th.
Okay, Joe, I would ask that you do the following, that you write an email to this team and outline, a couple brief, the highlights.
I'll give you updates. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very soon thereafter.
Yeah.
Say by close of business the next day. You good?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. PJ, good?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll send out my presentation tonight to you guys and whatever.
Hey, Joe, did you get any agenda for that meeting?
Do I have an agenda for that meeting, John? It's got to be the budget. I don't think they sent us anything out yet.
Okay, hold on. Let me go on their website and see if there's anything having to do with the budget out there. If you guys want to give me a second.
Yeah, let me look at
Idea, John.
let's see here. Special meeting posting. Here it is here. So she posted that. Let's just see here. Actually,
Any emails about it? Just saying.
No agenda posted.
special, let me see what she said, special meeting agenda. It's just the budget. It's 5:30, the 24th at 5:30. Discussion and action on the superintendent's proposed budget.
What, is this I think you guys were doing in-person meetings, were you not, Joe?
Yes, actually, this does say virtual. I guess they couldn't get the room, but it does say virtual meeting at this point in time, 5:30 to 6:30.
Okay.
Probably you'll have a final number on Amity that they vote on March 8th.
Yes, I would think so. Mm-hmm.
And John, I don't want to put you on the spot because you probably don't know the answer to this because I certainly don't. But last year, Amity voted themselves. They approved their budget with their board. I don't know what the governor's going to do, but we just had a town referendum on Racebrook Country Club. So I don't see why everything doesn't go to referendum. Our budget, Amity's budget. But your comment earlier that his executive orders end on April 20th. So if he does not extend those, then it will go to a referendum, correct? Or we don't know yet.
I would say so, yes. I also, thinking about it a little more, the the way we handled the budget last year was by executive order. And those executive orders probably weren't extended after all the budgets were passed. So he probably has to do another executive order specifically for budgets coming up pretty soon, because we're not the latest, we're not the earliest that does our budget, but we're not the latest either. There are some towns that do them like the end of February, beginning of March, and they're done. So something's got to happen pretty quick, I would think.
And I think we had a safe referendum, last week, or so I'm hoping everything goes to the people to vote.
Used to be a fundamental right in this country, remember?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I mean, imagine if you had a household and someone else was telling you what your budget would be.
Yeah. I agree. And we had a successful November election. We had a successful, bond referendum. So I don't see why we can't vote, whether it be by absentee ballot or in person. But I think the people.
World Health Organization says, lockdowns are a bad thing, right? Hey, PJ, you available for a quick call after we get done?
Tonight?
There's your answer.
Quick call after we get done. What do we think we mean here? If the answer is no, say no.
Oh, what else is there possibly to talk about? We started this meeting on.
That was a yes/no answer, sir. If the answer, I'm taking that as a no. Thank you.
Sure, Jim. I'd love to talk some more.
PJ's available. All right. And now it's up to PJ. We're on item number 16.
Let's please adjourn so Jim and I can further our conversation.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Pat. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, guys.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you soon.
I'll send out that presentation I did.
Thanks.
Personal property, for all we know, I don't know. I didn't get into detail with Mark, but, United Illuminating